Okay.
Bottom coming up.
That's it. Okay. So, welcome everybody. This is the NOAA vessel Okeanos Explorer. We're streaming live from live video from the waters around Oahu. We're working down around 400 meters today, and we got a special opportunity in which we can combine deep sea biology with human history. We're here to find or relocate the World War I submarine S19. This vessel was intentionally scuttled back in 1938, and it's serving us today as a piece of habitat of a known age that deep sea corals will colonize on. So it's been on the bottom roughly 75 years, 76 years, and by looking at it, we can see what's colonized in that time frame. So today it'll be myself, Frank Parrish. I'm with the National Marine Fisheries Service. I also have Chris Kelly, who you've been hearing for the last few weeks. He's next to me, so he makes sure that I don't have the right switch off. And we also are lucky to have Dr. Hans von Tilburg from Sanctuary Archaeology and Submerged Cultural Resources. So we're gonna make our way across the sand to the position of where the S19 is, and then we're going to take on a few exercises initially. This white disc that you see in your screen in front of us is a tilt meter that we're going to put down on the sand and get out of the way, so that we can just kind of see how it operates with the manipulators and the holding system.
That's possibly airplane debris right there.
So Hans, would you like to talk to about this item that we're seeing in the sediment right here?
Disarticulated debris.
Disarticulated
no question
debris.
About it.
Okay.
It looks like that light kind of framing from an aircraft, and maybe a coffee cup at the end. Some random debris.
So, Chris Kelly, why did you think that it was airplane debris?
Looks like aluminum to me. That's why.
Okay. All right.
And it looks like possibly wing framing, but Hans is the guy. I just sort of spontaneously blurted that out.
Okay. Well, we do a lot of that here, so that's okay. So, Chris, how far do we have till we get to the S19 based on the map?
Here. About 100 meters, 95 meters.
So we got to travel about 100 meters. So when the pilots get situated with everything on the bottom, then we'll start the transit.
We have records for over 1,485 Navy aircraft splashed in around Hawaii between the dates of about 1924 through 1952. And as both Chris and Frank know, coming across a disarticulated piece of aircraft is not an uncommon thing, looking at the deep ocean bottom. Could be other pieces, likely other pieces in the area, if that is an aircraft piece.
Well, this area in particular has more, right? I would assume that this particular region south of Oahu would be more likely to have it. And why is that?
Anywhere there's a historic airfield.
Yeah.
You just take a look runway, and or where the runway used to be, and draw a straight line out in the ocean. You'll tend to find an accumulation of aircraft. But of course, south shore of Oahu, with Pearl Harbor, all the coming and going, all the squadrons practicing. It was a pretty active area. I guess it wouldn't have come from the sub. I mean, we're still hundreds of meters away, and this thing went down in a very gentle scuttling action. So it was prepared for sinking. It was stripped. I don't think anything would be coming off the sub on the way down.
So is that Ensifer there I'm looking at?
That's Ensifer.
Yep. The shrimp is Heterocarpus ensifer. It's got the little circle or black dot on the side there.
Yeah, the polymyxia go by too. The fish with the.
Yeah. Are you going to be writing down the species as we go?
I can do some.
Terrific, thanks. So now that shrimp is one of the one of the shrimp targets of an old fishery that used to operate. It doesn't anymore that I know of, but the Lavigatus was taken, and Ensifer, and that one right there is Ensifer. Heterocarpus Ensifer.
There's also
Yeah, yes.
like,
Siderid Ensifer.
yeah,
What
it
is
could
that?
be a little weird looking. Could be Stereosideris.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Well, this is a pretty exciting piece of bottom, given that the rest of it seems to be sand out here, so the animals take full advantage of it. And you thought that was a coffee cup?
Yeah, Frank and Chris.
Yes. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, Jeff Polovina is here, and he just commented that actually there is
Right,
a
are we
small
all set up,
operation
pilots?
going on for a temporary shrimp fishery again here in the Hawaiian Islands. Now, as we know, it probably won't last long because the populations can't sustain long-term
Actually,
fishing,
no.
but there is a little bit of fishing from deep water shrimp in the Hawaiian Islands now.
Oh, excellent, Bruce. Would Jeff care to comment on what they're using to catch it? Are they using the big pyramid traps, or are they using smaller traps?
They're using the two guys that I know that are actually actively fishing. I know there's 4 permits. The 2 guys that are actively fishing are using barrel traps.
Barrel traps. Well, that didn't sound like Jeff Polovina. I would guess that was Michael Park, Dr. Michael Park. But if I've got that wrong, let me know.
Michael, is that guys who are fishing off of Niihau? Is that correct?
Go ahead, Nav.
It is Michael Park, and I don't know about the guys off of Niihau, but I know there's 2 guys that are fishing off of the southwest coast of Oahu right now, all the way from Pearl Harbor all the way around to Waianae.
Sorry, Nav, I'm having a hard time hearing. Can you repeat that?
Just wondering if you're ready to go ahead and start making our way down to the sub.
What I
Yes,
said
let's
is that I don't
definitely
know
go.
about the fishermen
Straight
in
away, thank
Niihau.
you.
I know there's a couple that are fishing off of the south shore of Oahu.
I'm going to start with a 30.
Ah, okay. Well, that's news. I didn't know that. Thanks, Michael.
Point 2.
Okay, so Nav, I've got your link on, so if I'm making too much noise, you should just tell me and I'll disconnect it.
Okay, bridge nav.
So Hans, what is that sort of fibrous material that's on this side of the
Bridge, this is
debris?
nav.
Is that some type of insulation, or is it rubber
Yeah,
or
we're ready for
plastic?
our
It seems
first
to be
ship
part of the framing,
Like
or
to
is
do
attached to the
30
framing.
Which side of the debris?
Well, this right here, this
bearing
yellow
due
stuff.
south.
On the other side, we didn't see it. As
0.2
we
knots.
came around to this side, we see all of this sort of yellow material. Or do you think that's just still metal there?
I think
just
it's still
colors?
metal. It's so rare
Bearing
to see
due south,
fabric from aircraft
180,
underwater.
0.2
Okay.
knots.
Even at these depths, I think it's the backside of metal with some different kind of coating on it,
Okay.
I would guess. This looks like it's kind of scouring itself down into another little borrow pit, doesn't it, Chris? Like so many artifacts
So,
in these
yeah. You'd think they,
sediment and current areas.
you'd think they get buried, but they don't. They wind up in these little
Pilot, can I
pits
bump
where
up
the
the
currents
range of your
scour around
sonar?
them, and they still stay on top.
Then they collect things that roll in, like that Olympia can.
Vehicles.
Yeah.
What is it? Can. Yeah.
Okay, so we're
Thanks, bridge.
we're going to start moving across the sand in the direction of the position of the S19. And we've extended the range of the sonar. And the key here is to look for a shadow because we're hoping that we'll be able to see it against the sand bottom.
Ship is underway.
It's okay, we're starting to move. We move very slowly. We have to get the ship moving, and then we have to have the Cirrus, which is the midline vehicle, moving, and then we have the ROV that follows below. So it's coordinating 3 vehicles to move through the water column to get to the target.
have your full wide minus the disc.
So, Chris, do you think these fish on the bottom are Cryonema? I'm guessing squamosepts.
Actually, I didn't get a look at them. I was looking at the nav screen. I'll take a look, Bruce.
Okay, we've moved on now, so I don't see any at the moment.
Also full wide at the moment. Copy that. East to west.
I'll take it. Yep.
You got some nice dunes down here, so certainly the water motion piles up the sand. And
Well, the dunes make finding the wreck a little more complicated.
It does.
Because they're going to
create shadows.
Yeah.
But the wreck
like
stand's much higher generally, so.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have any trouble seeing it when we get there. It should just light up one way or the other.
But the
Do you have an estimate for the tracking accuracy for this thing on the bottom? The D2?
That's a good question. Maybe that's a question for the navigator. Let's try that. Navigator.
Pilot, go ahead.
Navigator.
This is the maximum
Okay.
point at which we could see the sub. So we're not sure if this is the midpoint or the end of the submarine. So this could be the top of the length. So that's just a guide.
Okay. So we were just.
So we'll just keep an eye on the sonar and we'll bring the ship to a stop if we need to.
There was a question asked by Hans as to what the positional accuracy of the ROV is.
So,
This depth, pretty accurate. Good answer. More debris? More light aluminum debris?
Nav, what's the scale between your rings on your sonar? What's the distance?
I'm sorry, watch lead. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. What's the scale you're using on your scanning sonar?
We've got a range of 50 meters.
For each ring?
No, the outer ring is 50 meters.
Outer ring's
and
50,
each ring
right.
is 12.5 meters.
Got it. Thank you.
Looks like a series of sand waves there.
Chris, that's the fish down there. I'm not sure if it's Cryonema or Bembroth.
Bruce, I think that's Cryonema. I think I can see the spots on him.
The green spots.
So it's Chryseries?
Yeah, Cryonema Chryseries.
There's green spots.
Not see anything but waves in the sand. 2 meters out. Wood knife. Just turning 45 degrees. Okay, copy that.
So D2 sonar currently at 80 meters range.
Yeah, you're not seeing much past. You've got a little incline, so you aren't really seeing much past 40 meters at the moment.
Well, this big sand field was part of the appeal of this site. The fact that this wreck was this vessel was scuttled out here in the open sand, removes it away from a lot of hard bottom features. And so whatever would colonize it would be removed from the most nearest community that would grow on rock surfaces. So this is a new piece of habitat, put in an open piece of sand field, open area, and then you get the pioneer community growing on it. And this wreck was this vessel was relocated by the Hawaii Undersea Research Laboratory, and
Put in another.
some of the staff who were involved in that included Steve Price, and he mentioned to me that one of the interesting stories was that initially it was supposed to have been hauled out further offshore, but his thinking was that it was Friday afternoon and that they were in a hurry to get back, so basically they pulled it offshore here, and it looks like it went down here. I don't know what the story is, but I got to tell you, if this had been set deeper, it would not have served my purpose, because we're interested in this depth range, the coral community that grows here, It would have been a huge missed opportunity had this thing been sunk deeper and maybe, on a rock face or something like that. So whatever the circumstances that happened that brought this this vessel to be scuttled in this location, it works very well for my purposes. There's from the submarine going to the west, about 1,000 meters, you cross the sand. Good news. They've apparently acquired the sub. And there it is on sonar. So yeah, so now we know that we're headed in the right direction, and we should be seeing it come up soon. The question is what end we're coming up on. Is that the stern, or is it going to be the bow?
No, I'm 40 meters away from D2 right now. D2 is
Excellent.
40 meters away from the wreck.
That's good. Okay, so we're 40 meters from the wreck.
Still a ways off.
Okay.
That's a fairly common phenomenon, Frank.
All I'm going to do is
Miles off in the positions where they think they've scuttled these vessels. I mean, it's just not an issue to be that accurate when you're doing that kind of thing back then, I would suppose.
Do you think that anybody ever thinks when they're actually scuttling them that they're going to spend any time looking for them in the future?
No.
So has that changed any more now in the contemporary world where, we have to get rid of vessels? Do they think about that sort of thing?
Well, we like to tell ourselves it's changed.
Yeah, okay.
Be a little more careful disposing things. Be more clean about it, more environmentally proper about it, more exact.
Let's bring the ship to an easy stop here, and we're going to readjust our move. We've got the target sighted here.
So it looks like we're not moving forward, but what we're doing is repositioning the ship and moving in the direction of the sub.
How about
All right,
200?
Okay.
That's nice. This has kind of a beautiful fluted tail style that is more kind of a classic, very early, almost Captain Nemo-esque design. When you look at it. These were our first ocean-going attack submarines, open ocean submarines, and fairly early, so of limited depth range. You get a test depth of about 200 feet, I think. But in size, they're comparable to the German World War II boats, the Type 7 boats that were the real workhorses during World War II. These were a little earlier than that, and these had a little less speed and range, but our first commitment to have open ocean submarines, attack submarines like this class.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there aren't any lines that we need to worry about, is what they said. Okay. I just didn't want to approach it too aggressively.
You're looking due south, and the current is running across left to right. Which means it's coming from the east, which is what they predicted. The current would be coming from the east and going westerly. And it looks like there's a fairly strong current.
Yeah, it does.
It does, yeah.
My headset off, but that's I was just making a note about the current, that it's moving from east to west, looks like today, as predicted by the ROV team.
Okay, so I'll do 50 meters at 200. We're going to bring it closer. If you want to bring, well, Dave would like to bring it to the west. So. Okay. Bridge, nav.
What's that?
Let's do 50 meters, bearing 200, 0.2 knots.
Now there's a small dark thing down toward the bottom center left of the screen. Now it's moving up toward about 9 o'clock. Is there any chance of zooming in on one of those, see what those are?
That's it. Thanks, Bridge.
So what was he referring to? So
I think it was probably, it may be off screen already right now.
We could ask the pilot, can we pan left a little bit?
Since they're waiting for the
Yep.
next ship move.
Take advantage of the time.
Yep. Is that what you're talking about, Bruce?
Yeah.
That little thing on the bottom?
Out in the center.
Out in the center? Okay, so we want to zoom. Okay. Can
Now
we
it's
zoom?
off to the right. Or wait, there may be another one. I can't see well enough.
Okay, I'm going to leave it alone then.
So what are we looking for here? Watch leads.
I think they're having a discussion in the back row amongst themselves at the moment.
Okay.
They want to check to see if they didn't.
How quick did we go?
Point two.
Watch lead calling ROV pilot. Do you hear me?
I hear you now, Frank. What can I do for you?
We're just checking to make sure that we have the link up here. There was some confusion as to whether we were getting through or not.
I hear you now.
Okay. All right, I'll be better about pushing the right button. Thanks.
No worries. I'm used to sorting the voices.
I've got it on listen, right?
The jumble here. So the ship move is initiated. We're going to get ourselves on the west side down current, and we'll be going past the northernmost end as we get in position.
Okay.
We have it on sonar. Range is looking about 30 some odd meters. I hear Survey 2 calling pilot.
Okay, so Survey 2. Okay.
Go ahead.
So the question is it best for me to directly communicate with you, or should I be talking to the nav and have him relay it to you, or to the co-pilot?
If you want to see something on the video, just talk to me directly, and I will move the vehicle to center up the object of interest.
Roger that.
So could we zoom that what leaf-looking thing?
Sure.
Yeah, I think this is Cruminalis, Chescanopseta Cruminalis. And I am wrong, it's a leaf.
So you wanted to zoom on the leaf-looking thing?
I wanted to look at the leaf because they have a long jaw and they're unusual. I thought it was. And it's just the depth form.
Okay. Well, I'd say this species is out of its depth a bit, but...
that was a pretty silly zoom, wouldn't it, Frank?
Okay. That's all right. Okay.
Some other thing.
Feel free to reach over here, Chris, and
No.
direct
I
us.
just thought I was trying to help.
Okay.
So Dave got a piece of junk too. Let's see, 2 pieces of junk. All right, now it's Hans or Frank's turn to embarrass themselves.
Slipper.
Well,
Piece of slipper.
Yeah. So Hans, let me ask you, how much?
Local surf slipper.
How many pieces of? I mean, when something sinks in the sand, does it stay on top of the sand or does it get buried?
There are a lot of times where we have heavier elements like anchors, cannon, large heavy pieces that are going to work themselves down into the sand. I mean, a shipwreck is essentially sitting in just another medium of, fluid material, denser sand. But if it's heavier than that, with the ocean dynamics and with sediment transport, it can work itself down through layers. So stratigraphy can sometimes be challenging for archaeological sites underwater, no question about that. The lighter stuff, though, with the scouring that we see off the south shore of Oahu, it's odd that it doesn't get buried but creates these craters. And the scouring exacerbates that over time and tends to roll light debris into areas where there's a heavier element, not heavy enough to bury itself.
There you are. You're at the wreck.
Ah, beautiful.
So we're looking right at the stern here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so pilot, I guess the first order of operation is to find a distance that you feel comfortable from the stern, and then we can unload that tilt meter, that mock-up tilt meter. Over.
Well, we could do that right now while we wait for the ship to catch up.
That sounds great. Let's take advantage of the time so that we can get on with the vessel. So what we're doing now is that we're going to unload a tilt meter. It's not a real tilt meter. It's a mock-up to look like a tilt meter. That we're thinking about bringing out a series of these and putting them down and being able to look at flow rates across coral beds. I have a type of float meter which is essentially a little bit like a weather anemometer that it just has a little propeller on it and changes directions, and it tells you what the rate of flow is. But one of the problems with that is that when I put it down and leave it there, it does a good job at collecting the data until all that rotation attracts something. And what usually happens is it gets knocked over after 3 or 4 months. Some big fish or something gets excited by it and takes a whack at it, and before long it's non-functional. If that type of thing is used in shallower depths, it fouls. And when it fouls, then it changes the rotations, and then the data is really not very reasonable anymore. The advantage of working down at this depth is that we really don't get much in the way of fouling, but they're still getting knocked over, and they still depend on the rotating of the impeller. This is a very, very simple concept where you just take a vertical stick and basically with the electronics in it, it acts like a deep sea coral. It sits there and bends with the water, and so it'll give you the direction and the degree to which it bends. It'll give you the flow rate. And so if we could move to something like this, the fish could pick on it as much as they want, and that'd be fine. We'd still be able to collect data. So we're just trying this one out now, seeing if this would work. And we're looking at how well that mount that was just made by the Okeanos Explorer sub-ROV engineers works for carrying it down. It looks like it didn't flop around, it didn't fall out. And we're just
pretty good.
Yeah, we're just going to leave it here on the bottom, and then at the end of the dive, we're going to come back, pick it up, and put it back in there. And if that seems like a workable situation, then we might look at doing this next year, where we come out and actually put a series of these across different kinds of topography. So that's why we're doing this. There's no instrument in that right now. It's just a mock-up. It's an exercise solely for us to be able to see if this vehicle and this setup would be a way to deploy them and retrieve them later.
So you want to explain it a little bit? So that bar is going to tilt when the current pushes it, and that gives you direction and velocity?
You can see right now, I mean, this isn't a very good, it's a mock-up in the sense that there's a tube, and then it's weighted, and there's a line. But the idea is that there's electronics inside there, and when the current pushes it over, the direction it gets pushed, it'll be like using the electronics that are in your phone. It'll tell you the compass direction, and then there'll be a little accelerometer in there that will tell you the degree to which it bends, and that'll be calibrated relative to the flow rate. This particular tube is just filled with syntactic foam and doesn't have any kind of calibration at all. It's largely just something we would interact with the ROV to see if we could pick it up, put it down, put it back into the vehicle. That was the only reason it was put together. Next year we may have the actual instruments, and then we would come out here and start to deploy them. This got to be white, because as you can see, white is very, very reflective, and so when it's sitting out on the bottom, it'll be easy to identify. So, pilot, I assume there was no major hassle in doing that deployment or anything difficult?
That was a piece of cake.
Okay, well then we'll come back and see if it's a piece of cake to pick it up. We can turn our attention to the S19.
Yeah, there are the fins. You can see them. They're coming into view, the tail fins.
Oh, we're just going to get our lighting optimized here before we continue the approach.
When I first came here, Terry Kirby was driving the Hurl submersible, and he made the same remark you did, Hans. He said that this looks like the tail end of the Nautilus, something out of Jules Verne. So, but that isn't actually the real tail, right? There are parts missing. I mean, is there like a rudder or something that goes in there, or?
Let's take a closer look. We pulled all the plans we could for these S1 class subs, and it shows the tail section with the planes that would have extended further aft. So I'd assume that they're no longer there. But it certainly looks like it's in good shape. This thing probably didn't come down on its stern into the sand. Probably came in bow first.
would they have taken? I mean, would they say the rudders and propellers and things like that as things they used on something else? Or?
They may have. They did quite a job of stripping materials off of this sub, taking out the ballast, replacing it with concrete blocks, taking off the superstructure.
There we go. Now we're seeing stuff. And there's all the corals on
That's
there.
a beautiful
Yeah,
shot.
I was just going to say, it's pretty dark here at the ECCs. It's starting to come in a little bit better now. If we can make sure they brighten it up a little bit, thanks.
So, Frank, is this over on its port side listing or starboard side? Listing over to port?
I'm getting a sense that it's kind of listing to the port side a bit.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm sorry, starboard side. I'm listening.
Yeah?
Well, no, I guess it is listening to the port. Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, and I was trying to remember I wasn't looking at the picture, but I was thinking about when we went down it the last time. So.
Yeah, I just don't have an image of the
Yeah.
planes, the aft planes, in a clear enough plan to be able to say. But this would have had twin shafts, of course, twin propellers.
Yeah, it's on its port side, and I would assume that that right
Yeah,
there would
one
be
of
kind of
the-
the shafts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go bridge.
Yeah, we're focused on this thing in front, this image in front of us, but it was pointed out to us that we should also be looking at the other screens, such as the look of the vehicle, looking down on it and on the side. So gives you different perspectives of it, illuminated.
Oh, this room is like Disneyland for archaeologists right now, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pretty cool tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
You can see there's Sirius showed up right
Dan Warren's helping us out by looking at some historic images online. Definitely removed the dive planes.
So the corals on this, the light-colored ones that you see, are mostly Thorella.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
I'm sure if I remember correctly.
And
30 meters.
Oh, there it is. Look at it. There's your flow meter. Frank, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry, I was muted. I'm wondering if it's functioning. It doesn't look like it should be facing that direction, and the blade doesn't seem to be turning with this water motion, because I assume it's appreciable water motion you're feeling right now.
Yeah, I'm stationary with respect to the hull here.
Yeah.
It's not spinning around there.
Now,
Frank, can you tell us what the general plan is here? Are we going to circle this and come back, or should we ask to see specific things as we go? What's the general protocol?
well, I think what's going to happen is, looking at the current right now, we're going to try and make our way down this side of the vessel. And I think that I'm going to ask the pilots how they want to proceed, whether they want to pick up this flow meter now or on the way out. But we'll pick up the flow meter, but we will go down, and I think that inquiries and questions can be asked as we go. We'll do a stepwise look at it with Hans, because this will be his first time having a look at it. Let me check with the pilots here and see what they want to do. Pilots, do you guys want to pick this flow meter up now, or do you want to try and pick it up later?
Let's pick it up later. Let's make sure we get a good look around here and deal with the flow meter on departure.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start creeping down the side of the submarine, and I'd invite people to make requests in a coordinated way, and we can take a look at things.
That's a beautiful shot.
I was
That's
wondering, I know you said it's mostly Thurella on here and you hadn't seen bamboos, but I'm wondering what that whip is, and if you've already recorded that on past dives, etc.
Even if we've recorded it, we're going to have probably a little better imagery this time. So we'll go ahead and maybe zoom in on the whip that's right of the flow meter. Is that the request?
That's correct, Frank.
Okay, let's push in on that.
Stand by. Let me test a few automatic functions here, see if they'll cooperate with us in this current.
These are very nice shots. We have the stern access trunk, the escape trunk there on top, over to the left with the keel on the bottom, moving forward from the stern section, and you know, this is wonderfully intact. I mean, there are no compression damage or, you know, bright orange active corrosion areas or cracks, which would say something like this came down in a more gentle fashion than a hard impact stern first into the bottom.
The fish is Lamanema,
Yep.
Rhodocure.
Yep, Limonema. We got
No
a
question,
corallium.
that's a bamboo coral there.
Yep.
It's like a lepidisis of some kind.
There's a corallium colony behind it. I think the only coralliums I saw were on the transom here, if I'm remembering right.
We've got a Histosideris variabilis that's either on that coral or on the one behind it. I guess it's on the one behind it. That's the urchin.
And Chris, I don't know if you saw it before we zoomed in, just behind and to the left of the current meter looked like a different kind of primnoid, which you may be able to identify just from a distance. It was a fan-like one. I'm not sure if it's a Calyptrophora or Paracalyptrophora.
Yeah, we'll presumably have a chance to look at it. I noticed it, and I figured we'd probably get a good look at it. So this is Plesionic.
Yeah, it might be something that's easier to see once they come around on the other side. We're just pointing it out for future reference.
So I think the shrimp is Plesionica pacifica, if I remember correctly.
Trying to estimate where the end of the
And see the Elysium. I wonder if you could zoom on the head a little bit.
Come on in, small video. That's it.
Chris, I think that's a scorpion fish, not an anglerfish.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess you don't call the things coming off of scorpionfish Elysium.
Just come out a little bit.
These are the barbels. So I think this is Pontinus, Bruce. I think I could see the tips of them move. Is that correct?
Okay, I'm not good with these. They're very difficult even in the lab sometimes, but it's pretty good sized, and it's got a concave head, but I can't tell from the dorsal view, so that's as good a idea as any that I can come up with.
Yeah, I think I saw the tip of the long, I don't know what you call those then, if they're not Elysium, the tall projections off the top of the head. But Pontinus is very elongated, non-elaborate projections coming off the head, and I thought I saw the tip of one there.
Hold that.
That last move should be finishing up soon.
We're looking to be in a good position here.
Looks like that could be Astroceramus, the sea star on the bottom there, but maybe Chris will call in.
To reposition Sirius, is that pilot or co-pilot?
I think if you have some,
co-pilot is Manning Sirius.
yeah, I think the co-pilot.
Okay.
Co-pilot will be.
Okay, video, let's come full wide and
Request
start moving.
Yeah, so Chris, on the scorpionfish, Jack Randall calls those supraorbital tentacles.
What was it again, Bruce? Superorbital tentacles?
Okay, so go ahead and ask co-pilot.
Supraorbital tentacles.
Co-pilot, is it
Tentacles
possible to
above
bring
the eye.
Sirius a little lower to get an image of the scouring beneath the hull?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris. How'd I do today?
Yeah, so I think that is Astroceramus eldridgei.
Right.
That's the one that was described just last year in honor of Lou Eldridge, the former curator of invertebrates at the Bishop Museum. It is a predator on coral, so it may be in its prime feeding habitat.
Yeah, he seemed to have found himself in a reasonably decent buffet.
Certainly couldn't have asked for a more grandiose substrate, that's for sure. Anyway, I know you guys are busy, so I'll leave you to it. If you see any Anseropoda, give me a shot. Thank you,
pilot.
Bye-bye.
That was good.
That's right. Thanks for the reminder. You were looking for those, so I will keep my eye out for him. It's, he's very interested in seeing an image of a leaf
Pilot,
star.
can we pan left to see if the rudders contact the sediment?
yeah, for now, while we're on the.
You know, what's interesting, Chris, is that it looks like this whole stern section is scoured and is unsupported. Where have you seen that before? Common theme.
What's that? Yeah.
Is that the midget?
Yeah, the midget.
Yeah,
was it the
midget's up.
stern, or it was section right under the mid of
The
it?
bow is completely unsupported on the midget, and
That's
the
right, it's the
stern is
bow.
mostly unsupported.
That's right.
Now settling down with the deterioration, but you know, they may. I mean, they pulled the batteries out of these. There's not a lot of weight in the battery compartments, but those are fairly midships. I don't know that they took the engine or the motor out of these, and there'd be considerable weight aft.
But didn't you say while we were steaming out that there was a use of cement? They filled it with cement or something like that?
They took out the ballast,
Okay.
the Steeler lead ballast, put in cement blocks.
Okay.
They were just taking what they could use.
Yeah.
So I think the point also that you're making, Hans, is that this thing just didn't come to rest above the substrate. At one point when it landed, it probably landed pretty squarely on the sediment, and over time, in currents coming east-west, it's scoured this pit underneath it, and so it's only supported on maybe a certain few points. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see where it is supported. Probably midships like some other submarines we've seen, but it'd be hard to imagine this thing coming down and impacting on a balance point midships and being like this.
Right.
But it's just a testimony to its construction and its being intact and in good shape over a number of years, more so than other small submarines we've seen. This one isn't actually that small, 220 feet.
So what's the diameter?
Are the lasers on?
Oh, yeah.
Lasers, request for lasers.
I think about...
There they are.
The beam is about 20 feet plus, Chris.
20 feet plus, okay.
So can we push in on some of these corals on the top end here? That is this. What are we looking at, Chris? Here, as far as is this a piece of the conning tower, or is this?
You mean Hans, right?
Hans, I'm sorry. Yeah, Hans.
Oh, sorry.
This feature or this structure. What is that? Do you know?
Oh, I was paying attention to a different screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're still in the aft section, right?
Yeah, we're moving forward a bit. We've moved forward a little bit, and so.
I think there's your conning tower, isn't it? Right there, you have a large
they
Tartinian on the periscope.
Yeah, they took the superstructure off, though.
Yeah, there's actually.
This would be a portion of the fairweather for the superstructure.
What's the fairweather?
It would be the fairing to cut the water for the sail, for the conning tower.
Okay, so can we zoom on that little coral on the right corner there, just to take a close look at it? I don't need a long zoom, but just a little one to.
Yeah, and then this one here, I think, is similar to one.
Halfway?
Yeah, I think that's one of your Acanella, isn't it? Frank, the one on the right?
Which one, down here?
No, the other one. Up where
Up
you're
here?
zooming, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, more zoom, please.
A lot of targets here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't see a little zoanthic tucked in somewhere, you know. And so, yeah. So the reason we're actually looking at this submarine is that 1,000 meters across the sand, there's a fully developed, mature gold coral patch. And gold coral is a parasitic zoanthid that colonizes this coral, which is in front of us, and others that are bamboo. And we're looking to see if it's going to arrive here at this coral community, because this is a pioneer community that has settled on a new piece of habitat, only 75 years old, and we're waiting to see when the planula would wash in and settle and start to subsume them. Basically, it covers them completely and then starts to add protein skeleton beyond that. So
you're not seeing any on this, right? It looks pretty clean.
I don't see any on this, but you know, that's the nice thing about gold, is that it fluoresces very well, so you can actually see it. It doesn't just look yellow, but it actually has a very iridescent color.
The Bathopathes.
Yeah, there is. Okay. Okay, so you need to keep looking at the overhead there to get a sense of where we are on the submarine. So.
Thanks, Bridge. Pilot's ship has come to a stop.
Excellent. So the current either is deflected by the hull of the submarine or what, but right here it's coming from the south.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
Well,
That's interesting.
pretty much every time we've been here, it's from a slightly different direction. So.
Okay, we can see now in the Sirius view that it's bedded in the sand.
Yeah. And notice how the hull has gotten clean here. So we're in the midships area, and we have a lot less corals to look at. So if there are any things that you guys want to look at on a, you should.
Looks like what we'd call a bilge keel on the turn of the chine there for stability. And we're just passing the area where the superstructure was removed. So we saw a bit of the aft end of the superstructure with a pipe inside of it. Then the blank area to the left is where the conning tower would have been. Conning tower proper, sail, and now we're looking at an area forward of the sail or conning tower. The working deck where the deck gun would have been.
Look how clean it is here.
Well, we're still not looking at the upper deck. We're looking at the side of the upper deck,
Right.
Like other Bathypathes, maybe Conferta.
At least I think that's what where we're at.
It's tough because they've cut the things off that I would have thought of as a submarine. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the landmarks here
Yeah.
because we've got two pipes coming up, which could have been perhaps housings for the periscopes. Another pipe. We could be still in the section where the command section and bridge was.
Could we?
Superstructure.
Is that a little Acanella that's grown between the pipes? It
Yeah,
might
we
be
can
worth
zoom on
taking
that
a
one.
Look at
Yep,
that.
zoom in on the little coral that's between the two pipes.
Good to go, video.
So.
There's also a fish in there, scorpion fish, I think.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
Video's not here in pilot.
Okay.
Video's
So.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's little Acanella.
Yep.
I think we got the ID there.
There's two of them there.
Yep.
There's a request for a little red fish that's sort of.
Red fish was back this away.
Yeah.
Is that
There's
down
one
in the
of
corner
them
there?
down there. There's a couple of them. There's
Yep.
one right there.
We come full light on Sirius.
There's one right there, right to the left. He's in pretty good orientation.
Yeah, I'm working
Yeah.
my way
So
Yeah.
parallel along this. It's a bearing.
Yeah, my guess would be the periscope housings. And, Dan Warren's looking at some photos as well. And I think nothing else would come up parallel and dual like that. So we're still in the superstructure area. Midships, but no active corrosion. This is great. I mean, it's not flexing. It's not breaking apart the protective layers of incrustation over the steel.
But this is probably the hardest part of the submarine too, right? This is the underhull. This is the thing that would had hull paint on it and layers of it, things like that. So.
Sure. But it's older than other things we've seen on the bottom. I don't know what type of steel it is, but in other instances where we've seen submarines on the bottom for a couple decades after this, you know, they're going through some substantial deterioration.
So you're saying the old World War I steel is holding up better than World War II?
They all seem to be cases unto themselves. You know,
Yeah.
we haven't made any kind of generalization about it. It's odd that one will be having more active corrosion than others. Look at that scouring under the hull, looking forward. So it may be balanced in its midsection once again.
So if you're just joining us from the Maui Ocean Center or perhaps from the Aquarium of the Pacific, welcome. You're seeing a live broadcast from the Deep Discover ROV that's deployed off the ship Okeanos Explorer. This morning we are investigating a World War I shipwreck called the S19 Submarine, a U.S. submarine. And we've got Dr. Frank Parrish and Dr. Hans von Tilburg with us doing most of the commentary this morning. Frank, who's studying corals at the site, and Dr. Hans von Tilburg is a marine archaeologist.
looks like the current is coming out through. Let's go. Current is from the north. Yeah, I was confused with the current.
You're facing almost parallel to it.
Yep. Okay. East.
Okay, so those are this.
Yeah, I've got a lot of that.
So we could move just west.
Chris, we have a note. Your volume is hard for some folks to hear on conference line.
For me or you?
Yours,
Mine?
Chris?
Oh, okay. I'll put my microphone a little bit closer to my mouth. Maybe that'll work better.
I'll wait for some time.
You can see the rustical growth coming off of the keel along the bottom, the microorganisms that's essentially eating the ferrous steel into corrosion product and dripping down.
Should move, please. 30 meters, bearing 195 at 0.29.
So what's the screen here? Do you have any idea? I know I'm asking you about things that
Through hole fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, an intake.
That's right.
You've got a sponge there. Looks like they're regadrella.
Move should be underway shortly.
That's that bilge keel for stabilization running along above the keel.
So the interesting thing is you see a lot more of the coral sort of toward the aft end of the submarine, and you have sort of a bare patch. And if memory serves me right, I think they increase near the bow again.
Yeah.
There's just this bare spot right in the middle. And so it makes you wonder whether or not the submarine was settled into, several events where you have something arrive at the stern, and then it starts colonizing it and spreading out. And same thing maybe for the bow, but in the middle there was no such settlement event.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing it so much cleaner.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we wanted to look at the flow aspects of it, because to have such a difference in just a short little area, you'd think that they'd be spread all along the side here, but there must be very, very big differences between the flow at one end versus the center.
All right, we're back in the conning tower area.
I don't know what it was, tower, something in the middle that was kind of raised, and I wonder if it creates a little shadow in this area. I know most of the fans on the side here are oriented as if the current is sort of moving longitudinally along the sub. And so there might be a little dead zone or something behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Scott. I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, it could be that they're in a bit of a shadow.
Chris, audio still barely audible, according to a note. I think I figured that feature out that we're looking at in the stern section. There's a whole section of the stern weather deck that's been cut out. So it wasn't a hatch that came up that we initially saw with the pipe in it. It was the weather deck that was normal. Whole section of weather deck cut out, goes back up to the weather deck, and then we got into the conning tower area.
So any idea what this is right here, this depression on the side?
That looks like, wow. It almost looks like implosion damage if they hadn't, opened up all the compartments in the sub and send it to the bottom, because
split open.
This was just decommissioned and scuttled. This was not interesting. No big rock for it to bump into on the way down.
So it gets pushed down under pressure.
Yeah.
Cracks.
There was a compartment that was sealed and underwent a squeeze.
Before we leave this area, I'm sure the fish biologist seeing two fish there is probably going crazy, wanting to.
We can zoom on that fish. It's about they're right next to each other. It's an epigonid, or is it?
Epigonid and then the scorpionid.
The scorpionid, yeah.
Oh, there.
Yep. They're pretty small, but they're below the lasers.
The fish biologist being Bruce Mundy from NOAA Fisheries. He's one of the world's authority on the fish fauna around the Hawaiian Islands and elsewhere in the Pacific.
Is this the same guy we saw earlier?
It's not the same individual,
No,
but it may be
yeah.
the same species.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for what Bruce told me was the superorbital tentacles on the fish. So who would have thought fish had tentacles? But these do.
Yeah, he's saying Pontinus macrocephalus.
He is, okay.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yep.
Okay.
The tentacle is just a cryptic term. It's certainly not the same type of thing that cnidarians, jellyfish, and all have. So it's just a little descriptor.
Thanks, Bruce. And that coral is Caligorgia. I'm pretty sure it's Caligorgia Gilbert, Just
So this one's center is Caligorgia.
Yeah.
That one to the right too.
Don't know. Maybe.
No?
Yeah, it could be. And you've got a lepidisis
Yeah,
there.
lepidisis.
If you're going to look at this damage right here a bit, because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, right at the beginning of that bilge keel, so that makes it nice to identify the exact part of the sub where it happened. You can see the plates buckled inwards.
That's
guess she's a little beyond her test depth.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what is her test depth?
About 200 feet.
Really? So yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit beyond that.
Okay.
So it actually split that,
snapped that bilge keel,
yeah. The bilge keel, right?
Okay.
Navy Mitchell, report to the buses room. Tony, report
When
to the
we get a
buses room.
chance, can we zoom on the fish over to the left, please?
The Cryonema? That's what it is? Cryonema?
Well, we don't know.
Let's zoom in on him.
Well,
He's the one sitting on the ledge there. And just turned to take a look at us.
yeah, it's zooming in on us, I think.
That's right,
At the moment.
yeah.
Oh, there he goes. He's getting ready to bolt. He's getting nervous. Cryonema Chryseries, Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little closer.
It's like it's an Acanthogorgia underneath the keel there. I'm pretty sure it is Acanthogorgia. I don't know if we...
I agree with you, Chris. That does look like an Acanthogorgia down there.
Great shot for the fish. Thank you.
He's just about parallel to it, perpendicular. 080.
I wonder if the other side has a similar type of possibly implosion damage. I mean, would you expect to find it symmetrical, or is it just? Is it all connected to the apartment all the way across? I guess it would be, right?
Okay.
I think so.
So if one
But
gave way, then it shouldn't be on the other side. It
Yeah.
should be given way first.
Yeah.
All right, now we're looking at some of the portions of the railing on the weather deck. And the steps cut into the weather deck, the side there, are just forward of where the deck gun would have been placed. I think these were all launched with 3-inch deck guns.
070. Okay. 10 meters for now.
Now there's a friable area, very fragile, a little more active corrosion color to the steel.
Do we want to
So did that
Maybe
just-
some flexing.
Did that just eventually just give way over time, or did something actually
Well,
hit this?
I don't know that it would have hit it, but you know, this is not the pressure hull. This is the weather deck and sides above the pressure hull, not as thick.
10 meters off.
So, pilot, did I just hear that with the alignment of the current, you don't see any problem with us going all the way around?
No, not at this time.
Excellent. Okay, then we'll just continue on down to the bow, and then we'll make the sweep.
So if we move 15 meters.
Well, we got a good lunar cycle here, I imagine. Over here.
Yeah.
Not at the new moon or we're at the quarter moon, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or half.
That'll put us.
So.
Is there going to be a highlights tape for archaeologists everywhere? This is great stuff.
Yeah. It is definitely cool.
Really interesting.
Ship move, please. 15 meters.
That's the first active corrosion area I've seen.
At 0.2 knots.
Dan, is that you?
Yes, Hans. I was wondering, do you know if this sub was, the hull was welded or riveted plating?
Good question. Offhand, I don't know. 1920s, I would have assumed, welded, but didn't see any notes in the articles I've read about the S1 class. Haven't seen any rivets. I'm assuming welded.
It looks like it may have been with the build plane. It may have been looked like there might have been some riveting there. That's why I was asking.
Okay, interesting to note. More of the rusticles here, Dan, forming those tubes, tubular structures running down the side, pouring away from this active corrosion area, melting the ship, really.
Smaller on this. A lot smaller than I'm used to seeing in either the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. So I wonder if it could be temperature related.
Yeah. Ferrous oxyhydroxide, how are you, my friend?
I imagine it's an old nemesis for you, isn't it? Yeah.
It's our fate.
Yeah. Oh, you're resigned to it?
It's our fate. You got to be resigned to it.
Okay.
Right?
Very good.
It's colorful, at least. I mean, it could be, gray or something. It's a nice orange and red.
There's a whole Ardia buried deep down in there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
See him?
Nice.
Yeah. He'll probably be there as we come by on the other side.
Frank and Chris, there was a small whip-like coral lower down on the side here that you passed up, so before you leave, maybe have a look at it. I couldn't tell if it was a Candidella gigantea or if it might have been a black coral.
Okay.
Look at this shot.
Deck frames for the weather deck. All the wood would have been gone. It's probably teak to give them some footing near the deck gun, but the wood's gone.
So we would want to... Okay, so pilot, I guess we want to zoom out and we want to see if we can find a small coral that's a little bit down here.
Right. The voice of the person who's requesting that is Dr. Scott France from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, who's participating. He's actually in Hawaii because he's going to be your host for the next cruise that's departing next week.
Right there.
Yeah, that's the one.
Going to the center of the screen right now.
Yep, so we want to zoom on that little whip.
Actually, Frank, I see one above it that's coiling, so that must be a black coral. The coiling one's probably a better one. Looks like that's where you're going anyway.
Yeah.
So is this the right one, Scott?
Yep, that's fine. So it looks like a Stichopathes type. It's probably actually genetically an Antipathes, but it's a black coral, so that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we can zoom out. We can...
So Scott, we actually refer to this one as Stichopathes species white. So it actually doesn't have a name. For quite a while, we assumed it was Cirripathes spiralis until we actually grabbed one of these things and determined it was a Stichopathes, which Dennis Presco always suspected anyway.
So that's the boarding ladder we're seeing right there going up.
We've done the genetics on some of these things, and it turns out that most of these, quote, shallow Stichopathes are actually more closely related to the branching Antipathes. You find the quote, true Stichopathes much deeper, so that's all taxonomic details that'll be worked out later.
So we're starting to see the corals come back as we move towards the bow. We're getting towards the end. We'll start to see more of them.
Pilot, can we drop down to the bottom and check the scouring situation momentarily?
What are you saying about that?
Co-pilot, we're just doing a quick change out for the pilots. I'll relay to the next pilot. You want to see the scouring on the bottom.
We have a certain amount of sediment buildup right here on the top of the sub, even though it's elevated by probably at least 20 feet or maybe about 15 feet, perhaps from the bottom. Even more if you consider well, no, it's not really sitting in the scouring.
Yeah.
Wonder if we can get a zoom of the coral colony over there in the lower right corner. when you have a chance.
Once they do the change out.
Yeah,
So you're interested in this one in the lower right field area?
Yeah, it's mostly just documenting the various corals that you see on the wreck.
Yep.
Some of these we were already aware of,
Yep.
like the Thorella and the Acanella, as you actually knew which colony of Acanella you wanted to see. So.
Well, we got a bunch of them that we can look at, but yeah, we're going along the other side. We'll actually see more bamboo on the other side than we will on this side, because the first time we came here and we did the pass over it, I remember saying, okay, maybe I saw one, but I was thinking, okay, it's not very meaningful because I don't have a lot of hosts that potentially could be colonized. But then when I came back and we went on the other side, there were a fair number, and there's one that's actually pretty large. And so it was worth coming back and doing this full survey going all the way around. There are days when the current is coming pretty hard. At least the one time that we came, you and I, it was coming right out of the east and was headed west. But it's interesting. You can go across to the pinnacle 1,000 meters away, and the two times we've been there, the current has always been running to the east. So the local bottom topography can make a great difference in which way it's blowing. Current flow.
To the east or from the east?
It was actually going to the east. We would actually go down, and then when I came from the S19, we tried to steam back to pick up a flow meter over there. The current stopped us 80 meters short of our pickup. We just couldn't make any progress. So
those of you who are watching, we've got a little bit of a ROV team change out going on right now. That's why we're sort of stationary at the moment. And they're just switching seats now, and they'll resume the survey shortly. And meanwhile, those of you who are just joining us from your home or from somewhere else, perhaps the Maui Ocean Center or the Aquarium of the Pacific, welcome. You are seeing a live broadcast. Yes, you're seeing it at the same time that we are from the Deep Discover Remotely Operated Vehicle, or ROV, deployed from the ship Okeanos Explorer. We are on.
So it looks like they left us some sampling work. Not sampling, but pickup work.
Scuttled, I don't know exactly what year it was scuttled.
1938.
1938.
Yeah, affirmative. That's
call it a World War I.
right before we leave. I think the
Well,
idea is to grab that.
In response to
we got two
what the
things to
Wolfpacks
grab.
did in the Atlantic during the war.
Yeah.
We
So
came out
we
with
need to
these
leave
beginning of the 1920s.
A decent amount of time to grab
World War
that
One
flow
era.
meter.
Yeah.
Because it's
close enough.
It's not.
Can we zoom in on the area of the hull right
let
underneath
me
the railing remnant?
do some math on what.
I should probably be reading some of these out more often, huh?
I'll take a look at somebody said that that's what they'd like to see. Yeah, periodically we look over in the chat room and see if somebody's got a request, and we try and accommodate based on all the range of other things that we're trying to do.
Tether's in a nice spot, so I'm going to come down a bit.
Okay.
Get a nice shot.
We had a request for looking at these ladder rungs, the railing, or was it on the top?
Is it the weld on the left there? So a little left of the ladder area.
Just left of the ladder, zooming in underneath the railing remnant.
Okay. Stand by.
Thank you.
Video, feel free to zoom on Sirius as
Who
you
do
see
I
fit.
ask about the planned surface time? I want to make sure I have a track on the time. Is
That's
that the navigator?
Navigator, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check with him.
Tony Mitchell, report to the bosun's room.
Okay. Yeah, let me get you a little bit of
ahead,
red,
Watson.
to pop out of that, Joe. Stand by. Let me get a little bit closer.
So navigator, at some point, can you give me a time that we're going to be leaving the bottom by?
Let me get you just a little bit closer. Go ahead.
Roger that. Understand 12:15.
Do you want to go ahead and partial, or do you want me to get you a little bit closer, Joe? I can't hear you, Joe.
Okay.
There you are.
So
There's
that's
a cleat.
12:15 leave bottom, and that's after we've picked everything up. Roger,
You want to
thanks.
go partial on the railing? Is that what we're calling this, a railing?
Yep.
So Chris, do you think that strange red thing on the right is a Ctenophora, a Lyroxus?
Where's Chris go? Chris walked out, but Chris, looking over my shoulder here, I think
Go
it's a
tight.
10-4.
Go tight.
Lyrock D's. That's a Ctenophora.
I'll rock it back up.
Beautiful.
I'm drifting back a little. I'll bring it back in.
Let me know if you want me to tilt it all.
Okay, you can go ahead and just take it, Josh, and
Okay.
just don't do it without saying it.
Yeah, he doesn't have his mic on, right?
I mean, when it was on.
Oh, okay.
I'm catching up on some past messages.
It's pretty faint now. Right?
Okay, I'm going to walk it back over to the railing while we're in partial.
The eel off in the background there.
A few anemones tucked in
So what
there.
are you looking for here with this area that you asked for?
I think we need to zoom out a little more once we're done.
Okay.
You know, there was discoloration between the metal plate underneath the railing and other pieces. And maybe a separate piece of hull plate, slightly different steel. I'm just trying to keep Dan Warren and Houston happy. That's all I'm trying to do.
He's asking for that? Is that it?
Yeah, he's a troublemaker.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah, definitely.
And I appreciate that, Han.
2 plates coming together, Dan.
Just
Look
to
at
the
that.
right, that diagonal
Different
sort of
metals,
strike.
You might guess. Yeah.
There.
And then why that is?
So that
You can
what you're
go in
looking
if you
at here
want.
is you're looking at the diagonal. Well, we just zoomed in, so when we zoom out, we can look at
Frank, where are you looking? Up at the ridge there, or
Yeah, zoom
down
out,
to the right?
Zoom out for you to see it. Okay, so as you
Diagonal
zoom
joint.
out,
There.
then you see the cleat on the high right side, and what
Yes.
they're talking about is that diagonal angle between the 2 types of steel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we can look at that if you need
Yeah,
to.
there you go.
Yeah.
The pictures I have look like welded hull plates, so I don't think we're seeing rivets. Although
Go
I see
tight,
things
Joe.
I see
That looks
things
like a rivet to
Yeah, maybe.
right there, right
there,
at the bottom.
there.
Tilting down.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah.
So what do you? Oh, I see them right there. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you actually see the rivets. Yeah.
Tilting up.
Getting just a little bit low.
Maybe a mixture of both types of construction in different places.
Okay, so why don't we zoom out and?
I wonder. Hey,
Okay.
I
Go.
wonder if that's a repair from one of the stranding events that happened on the East Coast.
It could have been. And I think looking at the historic images I have here, it does show things like the fair weather for the forward bow planes are riveted into
Having trouble hearing you
welded
again,
hull
Joe.
plates. So both
Turn you
types
up.
of construction.
I can. That's fine. You're good.
That sounds like a paper.
Just my nip cams give me plenty of
At least a
perspective.
paragraph.
Should we back off and head down to the sand in this region?
Do you want to go down towards the keel at all, or?
I just wanted to see how much scouring was underneath this section now that we're forward of the.
Don't forget to look
midships.
over on the
Yeah, I've
the
been doing-
cirrus.
I've
The
been doing
cirrus
that.
gives you a good perspective from the backside there.
Yeah.
So
Co-pilot, I'm trying to anticipate our
This
next
really
move.
is neat ticket ride.
yeah.
Dan and previous
think Disneyland has
group
tickets
had it at
anymore.
160.
Fast pass is what I hear.
So it's just
Sounds
one
about
single
right.
huge
Yeah.
price.
Come again?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah. This
So
is
whenever
just
we want, we can
So
do 15
this coral
meter
that's
moves.
down
supported.
down on the base here coming in, can we zoom on that? That was something. Oh, it was that one. I'm sorry. It was also the one up in the right corner there. So maybe hit that one and then go up to the right corner colony. We'll get a zoom on it, and Chris Kelly can then weigh in on that.
Okay, I'm going to carry this momentum down to the sediment,
No
and then I'll
problem.
come up and look at all
So
of these.
Chris, I
one at a
requested zooms on these corals for you. So okay. It's a regadrella sponge.
Yeah, balancing on the midpoint. Look at that. Just clear space
I'm going to
underneath
tilt
all
up,
this.
Josh, a little
must be
bit.
there's a
I'm
lot of
gonna
weight
come
sitting
real close
on
to the bottom, but not
A
quite.
little bit of steel down there.
I'm going to bring down your swing arms.
Roger. Yep, light it up underneath.
Yep.
I'm going to just hang here in auto depth and just wait for you to light up underneath there. I can get just another maybe 1/10 of a meter down safely. I'm going to push in just a little bit more. And then, Frank, I know we're going to look at all those corals on the way as we rise back up.
That sounds good.
Are we calling these rusticles, or is that all biological dangly bits?
Rusticles is what I heard.
Rusticles are biological.
They are.
Yeah, there are various forms of microorganisms.
Your lights are all the way
and
down
bacteria
right
that are reducing the. I think they're sulfite eaters or something. They don't need very much oxygen, but they're living off of the corrosion products and basically melting this submarine away.
That's as low as it goes.
They found a new type of rustical microorganism, bacteria on the Titanic they just hadn't known about before.
Some of us on this trip were on that expedition.
Oh, all right.
Scientist Roy Collymore, I think.
Yeah.
Deployed. We picked up some of his sensors in 2004, his sample coupons.
Where's your fish, Bruce? It's above the substrate? Is that what you're saying?
Going underneath the hull now. It went underneath the shadows. So
Okay.
it's too late, I think.
We'll catch him on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and look up at some of those corals.
Okay, this
Zoom
one
in
in
on-
center or up to the
No,
right?
go up to the right. They were larger contacts.
Roger.
And then I will grab Chris Kelly to look at them. Or Scott's here. Scott could probably weigh in on
I'm
that.
just going to ooch it up slowly, and you can go partial as you need to, Joe, and then tight as we settle.
Well, that's interesting. That's all possibly a zinc plate attachment point to the keel, or it's a license plate from Texas.
Just the one you wanted to look at, Chris, or do you want to go further up?
I think that lower fan is something we haven't at least seen this morning. The one the lasers just passed over.
The one below the Regadrella? Okay, so yeah, where the lasers are, that's what we'd like to zoom on. Just below the sponge.
I'll walk it over there for you, Joe.
Right.
Stand by. Let me get it stable. Try to get it stable.
Just focus on getting it stable. I can tilt
Again,
up.
tell if it's a plexaurid or an
Tilting up.
anthophilid. I'm kind of leaning towards anthophilid, something like a Victor Borgia type, but Chris may know more.
Okay, so he doesn't know whether it's a plexaurid or a planktophelid. Hang on a second, let me hand you this.
Tilting down.
So, Scott, I'm just letting some visitors here sit in the seat. That's why I've been silent here. But I don't know what that white coral is. Do you know what that is? The one that's below the sponge?
I'm coming back down.
Right, so I was saying either plexaurid or anthophilid, but the fact that it's so bendy strikes me more like an anthophilid, so something related to anthophila or Victor Borgia.
Yeah, but are there any known white versions of that coral here in Hawaii? I've never heard
Tilting
of a
up.
white version of Victor Borgia.
Is that a rivet right there?
Yeah, there's definitely white versions of
Tilting up.
anthophila. I
Yeah,
don't
looks
know
like
about here in Hawaii.
Stopped.
Let me just try to get stable again. I got a little close, so
It's not a perfect
Yeah,
white.
yeah, I saw
because
that.
The light is so bright. There's a slight purple tint, so I'm not certain.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I didn't think we'd see something potentially new here. But we may be looking at a new record for Hawaii right here, this coral, that none of us can quite understand what it is.
You can see that there's a purple tint to the polyps, but the sealing-kind tissue between the polyps
Drifting
isn't
in.
colored, and that's, of course, what you would see in Victor Borgia. And I
Come
don't
partial,
know
please.
how much plasticity there is in that coloration.
Just this auto heading was
Fascinating.
messing me
Thanks,
up.
Scott.
Just
Yeah.
turned it off. It's nice driving around when you're zoomed out, but
The macros and stuff.
yeah. Do you want more tight zooms, Frank?
No,
Chris?
I think we're good with that. Let's go ahead and
Okay.
wide, and we'll start moving towards the bow.
So, Chris, if you could
Yeah,
keep
the
an eye
weather
on
deck on the
time.
other side will be really interesting.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just
So we
just
want
about
to get
to
over
keep
the
you guys
weather deck, 'cause
updated.
There's going to be a lot of complicated.
We have an hour and a
topography
half
over there because
to
of
go
all the features
around
that
if we
will be
can.
exposed, and if we can
and
get
pick up
access to
both
it, we should
things.
be. It
Okay.
may be a
So we should start
slower
moving.
progress than we're making here, just because we will have
So
more
you're
things
going to have
look
to
at.
keep us.
Yep, I can
What a
order a
community.
ship
That's
move,
fascinating.
160, 15 meters, 0.2 if you guys would like, and then you can get on the other side of D2 and he can work his way.
I would like to make sure we pause near the bow with Sirius still on this side of it.
Okay.
To do one of these numbers.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think that's still a little ways.
Okay.
More than 15.
All right.
Yep.
Yep. So just work with science and just keep us moving, keep science moving, so we can
understood
achieve our objectives.
With the southerly current, the tether's going to droop off of the wreck in that direction. It's a good opportunity to try to do what we need to do.
Watch lead nav.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Just keeping you updated. We have about an hour and a half to do what we need to do down here. So we were thinking, keep it moving, get a little ship move in, move Sirius down the wreck. We'd like a little bit of time to survey the bow. So the quicker we can get down there, we'll just do small ship moves that way, if that's okay with you.
Yep, let's punch it.
Okay. Bridge nav.
You have your camera back.
Okay, thank you.
Ship
I'll
moves,
just hold
please.
it here.
15 meters, 160 degrees, 2/10.
It takes time to relocate the ship and the Cirrus in the middle of the
I'm going to bump it down a little bit, Joe.
Tether in the vehicle. So
Good copy. Thank you.
We're going to start moving towards the bow.
Excellent.
If you've just joined us,
I'm going to push in
we're,
up high there.
Streaming live video from the bottom of the sea,
Kind of
south
zigzag
of Oahu,
back down.
on a World War I submarine named the S19. We're using the D2 ROV. It's part of the Okeanos Explorer, the NOAA vessel Okeanos Explorer.
Your swing arms
We're
are
here
still in
working
a place that gets
both biology
makes it a little bit
and,
scary.
And the history of the
Thanks.
this submarine. It was scuttled back in 1938, and it landed right in the middle of a sand field, and it provides an excellent surface for corals to colonize.
Thank you, Bridge.
It gives us a glimpse at a pioneer community of deep-sea corals after a 75-year time sitting here on the bottom. And so the sub went down, landed on the bottom, and it probably took a very long time for colonization to occur. And those pioneers who settled, started to grow and spread on the wreck here.
Big coral.
And then we're looking at, one of the reasons we're here is we're looking to see if we are seeing succession occurring where you have the pioneers come in, and then they're followed by other corals which would settle on them. And the one we're interested in is a gold coral, which is a parasite and colonizes bamboo corals. And so that's why we're scouting this wreck to see if we've seen any arrivals of the gold coral.
What are these along the side of the vessel? What are these bulbous protrusions? What is that?
It's a little Carillium down there.
That should be the keel section.
That's the keel. Stay down.
At the bottom.
Wow.
So there's big, broad is the keel, and then that's what, a stabilizing fin, or are there two broad?
I think this is the keel lower down.
The lower one.
And that is another section. It's on my plans, and I wouldn't know what to call that. It's drawn in and just in a hashed line.
GD White 217, Nikki 217.
Yeah, absolutely. Zoom as you wish.
Co-pilot, I brought your sonar in. It was at 80 meters. Let me know if you'd like that change back.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
I'm going to walk back over to the right. Just let the current just drift me along here.
Yep, just go ahead and slide right down to the bow. So this would be the sharp edge of the bow.
Bring it
and
down.
You can actually see what are these
arms.
points
Upper
that are
sling
sticking
arm.
out. Are those?
Are you going to deploy the lowers?
Bolts,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Pulling the lowers, and then
they're very regular.
I'll bring them back up as you
holding points.
Move.
Okay.
Yeah, those are interesting. Very copperish looking.
Yeah. So the
Be
metal
odd
has
for a steel boat.
They basically, there's been corrosion away, and now they were recessed before, but now they're exposed as a result of the weathering.
You know, some other vessels would put in a sacrificial keel pieces to protect the real keel. Even wood above a steel keel is a sacrificial
Do you want me
protection
to come in
piece.
closer? Okay, go ahead.
Wow.
Can you come out just a little bit on Copilot HD? Give me just a little bit of perspective. Thank you. That's nice. Besides, it frames D2 up.
That almost looks like, little wooden remnant from the held by bolts, but that's a lot of bolts to hold on a sacrificial piece
This
of
looks
steel.
like it ends right here, or ooh, we have. How about a little rise up to the top and then back down?
Yep.
See what we missed.
Just keep moving as we go, yeah.
That would be great. We should be right underneath the bow plane area.
Bow planes aren't sticking out, are they?
They were able to fold in. They were able to. I think it was
I don't remember the bow plane sticking out.
First submarine that had retractable bow planes.
Yeah.
For the U.S.
Came down before. I don't remember them being exposed or sticking out.
Copy.
Roger, everything look okay with the tether, Josh? I'm rising a bit.
Yeah, the tether's still off to your starboard.
Okay, yeah, we're good. I'm just gonna move real slow up this and take a look at what that
Delta
what's
7
protruding.
right now.
We might have missed the bow planes.
Well,
not in that area yet.
Yeah, we're probably not there.
Pilot, that ship move. Pilots, that ship move is complete.
Roger.
Okay, keep moving towards the bow because most of the bamboos are going to be over on the other side of the vessel. So if we want to be able to stop and go, and I know that Hans is primarily interested in taking a look down in, so we just keep moving towards the bow section, then we can start curling around.
We can do that. Roger that. I'm gonna head back down as a zigzag down the side, and we're nearly there.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you guys should be getting there soon.
Okay, now I would guess we're looking at an area for the retractable bow planes. The cutout. Pretty opened up.
Excellent.
Yeah.
2 meters off the bottom. I'm going to come down low. You want to put those swing arms back down to get under this? This might be the best part of the looking under since it's perched. Thank you, Josh.
Oh, there's some fish down in there. Looks like another Limonema.
So Limonena is in the Morid family, or deep water cods. And so a lot of people don't realize that we have cod in Hawaii, but we do. They're just in deeper water. They're a cold water group.
Right,
and that's where you get cold water in Hawaii.
There's a Hallardia down there, and it looks like that might be a Crionema off to the right. We don't need to zoom on it.
All right, Josh. I'm going to slide here and then rise right up on the edge of that, what looks like the stem. And that's going to be, if you want to dip down and as needed or as you can.
Torpedo tubes are right above us.
Oh, then we should definitely look up.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Torpedo tube doors.
All right, you can see them, yeah, with the vehicle. Gives you a sense of
Four
scale.
torpedo tubes.
So I'm going to try to keep some fluid movement on D2 just to capture this on the Sirius camera.
There we go. That's what we were looking at earlier, the torpedo tube areas.
And see, we're starting to get our
mechanism
bamboos in here too. That's
Yeah.
a small bamboo right under the laser there. Just keep panning. This looks good. So, Chris, is that a plexaurid up
Two
there?
starboard torpedo tubes.
I think.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of things that we were checking out last time, looking at pretty closely.
Momentarily.
Look at all those Thorella. And we're right back to the same thing we had on the stern, where they were all white covered.
Yeah.
So right back down, right
we
on the
got
bow,
more
right?
bamboo at this end. We've got there's one there,
Perfect.
there's one down in
With
there.
the way the swing arms are, none of them are blinding serials.
Yeah, and there's
Right.
your bow right there. You're looking right at the bow.
Had a straight stem like a steamer bow, and looks like
Tilting
a towing
down.
hawser.
On my
Still
camera.
wrapped around the
Look at the torpedo tubes.
top of the bow.
Yeah, it's great
The
shot.
business end of the submarine.
I'm going to hold here right on the bow, come down low, look up.
Very
and then
nice.
we can rise up on it. Unless we get.
So that bamboo colony there is moderately large. There's actually a larger one further down. If we go down the other side, we'll see another one that looks like it's about 50 years old. based
I'm
on
going to fix that. Stand
the
by.
radiometric stuff that's been done by Rourke and others.
That's serious. Let me know if you want me to turn.
Okay, I'm going to come up and go forward. And
Soda or beer can on the bottom down below that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh, it doesn't look like you're moving anymore. If you'd like to,
traditions never die.
Yeah.
Keep me here
move,
for
let me know.
Well, the closer you are to a population center, the more you're likely you're going to see stuff like that.
These are always rolling around across the sea floor.
Yep.
I have sort of a question. Did they actually have beer cans in 1938, or was it mostly beer bottles? When did the can actually appear? You guys are shaking your head like you don't have a clue.
I don't drink beer, man, so I'm not, if I did, I'd probably have an answer for you. Okay. I'm sure the audience out there has an answer for you. But
somebody knows.
Yeah.
Turn away from you a little bit. Try to get rid
It's
of
a
that.
very, very sharp bow.
Isn't it?
And look at that. It's just it's straight up and down, too. It's not rigged or anything. It's
some active corrosion. Yeah. So we're not seeing the tubes themselves, I think, just the areas where the doors would have been. Can't make out the tubes inside. That is probably the towing hawser looped over the bow.
Get rid of some of that flare.
And I am enjoying myself way too much.
look at this.
So this is the hole for the anchor. Is that what you said? That was the anchor point?
No, that's the fair lead for the towing cable. Anchor would have come off of the side, and I think the cutout has been either damaged. Couldn't make out the anchor in there. They would have taken the anchor off if they're going to scuttle this thing. But that's a pipe fair lead for towing cable.
Is that the towing cable that we see?
There's the towing cable. Probably wire rope going right in there. That was kind of a feature of electric boat early submarines. Prominent pipe fair leads.
Todd, if you're going to keep going
Sort of
around,
really
you want to
knife
get a
through the
ship
water,
move
huh?
in?
Yeah, that's a sharp bow.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think?
I think we have one more reveal shot to make from this side.
Okay.
Unless you want, if you go ahead and start it, I'll.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Start
just
the
thought
move.
if I go over here and hide and then come up and rise,
Yeah,
go. Sort of dramatic shot, and
Go
then
ahead.
we can.
You can start the move, though, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we
Take
thinking,
a few
Josh?
minutes.
Bring me to the other side of it, I suppose.
Okay, right in front of the bow? Or do you want to go directly overhead?
Like something left of my heading?
Yeah, if you look at the midsection of this vessel and you look at the bow or the
Okay,
stern,
you want to go directly
you
over?
would think you were looking at the
I
same
think that's
vessels.
okay.
They're so different in the fouling
Okay.
that
Yeah, it's sort of fascinating to try to understand how this particular wreck got
Can you
colonized.
change your head a
over the
bit
last,
to keep
what
me in
is it,
view, but get rid of that flare?
75 years. Yeah, 75 years.
Josh, somehow.
And there are a lot of wrecks down there, but a lot of the times
Here.
they're not in the right depths to be able to
Stay
ask the
there.
questions
I'm going to
that
rise
you
up
want to,
this,
and it just
and
happened
then
this one is in the
come
right
into
depth
your
range
view.
and happened to be in the
I
middle
obviously
of
can't get too close
a
to
nice
that
sand field
line.
because you could have sunk right on a rock outcrop in the middle of a coral bed, and the colonization would have been just a matter of fragmentations breaking off.
I don't know what these anemones are. I wonder if we could take a zoom of the anemone.
You just want a zoom of the.
Yeah.
I think right now what they're doing is
Oh,
they're
just
doing
doing the whole
they're
thing.
doing
Okay,
a whole
got it.
capture,
Sure.
and then we can do zoom after that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
A little difference.
So unless I missed it, I didn't see any starboard bow plane, and it looks like they've kind of cut down into that section and removed that whole mechanism for pivoting those bow planes.
Yeah.
Just
20-second clip for video there. We'll go back to work.
You look at
And
it on
Sirius
the
should be
wide view.
moving over to the other side now,
Yeah, the
which will
wide
let
view
us
gives you good context.
maneuver. Is that
I'd-
correct?
I don't know. Was the bow planes close to the anchor?
Yeah, right here.
Because it looked like that whole area got cut.
This
They were
is all
cutting that
cut
up.
open.
Yeah. Okay. You can see the light through the. If you look up there, Hans, you can see the light coming right through where the tubes are and everything right now.
Yeah.
So
Watch leads, where would you like us to settle in for tighter shots? We are going to get Sirius over on the east side.
Okay, we can zoom in here, maybe a little higher up. We were looking at the
There you go, video.
anemones. That's the carpet of anemones that we're interested in, right? Not a specific one. Or?
There's a couple of big ones, big brown ones.
Okay, let's look at the anemones that are up at the top end.
Roger. Let me get settled in up there for you.
Okay, pilots, we're headed that way.
More towards the bow.
Yeah, there they are. There's one of them right there.
Further left.
Another one.
Have you already identified all these really small white ones? Is this just a carpet of anemones,
Copy,
or are
thanks.
those zoanthids? They look like anemones.
Good job, go
I don't know. I figure we'll get those too when we zoom in on these
Nice
bigger
shot,
ones.
Josh.
Because I'm not sure what I'm looking at either.
Now let's go ahead and zoom.
Go ahead, video. They want to see the anemones.
Push in on the anemones.
I can't get too close because I have this cable right in front of me.
Yep, following your lead. Just going to mess with your lights a little bit, Todd.
Go right ahead, Josh.
Got
You know
a
what
lot
to
of
do.
stuff on it. So
Yeah.
are these just a colonial anemone?
A little bit
or
brighter,
is this
Josh.
a
It got too
stolen
dark on
fish?
the main camera.
I think it's both. There's zoanthids, so what we're looking at between the lasers are zoanthids,
Take my
but there's
camera,
also
please,
all
Josh.
this sort of gray-blue stuff. That's all
Get it.
coral.
Back.
Stoloniferous describes it as growing in ribbons, but it might be cornularia-like. They have a little capsule at the base that they can retreat into, but very interesting, really abundant.
This thing down.
Yeah.
And as far as the larger anemone goes,
Holding.
I'm not really sure what that is. I would
How
just
about we go
default
up to the next one?
some type of
If you go next to that anemone and straight left, if you're already headed up, keep going.
I'm heading up. There's an
And not
anemone
much of
right
a
up here
skirt around
next to the crinoid.
the base of it, but I don't really know.
Yeah, and I can't help you there. And I think on the left side off the screen now, there's a scleractinian coral colony, so stony coral.
Off the
Gonna
left
come
side.
up a little bit, Todd.
Yeah.
I'm starting to move over on top of you.
Okay.
That's an antidon.
What are you going to do, Josh?
Probably
gonna
an
come up
antidonid.
as I go over on the top of you
So
and
this is
rotate
what you're
to
referring
forward.
to, right, Scott? This one
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
manipcam has a great view.
That's what I'm referring to.
Of?
I'm pretty sure
Just in
that's
general?
an Adrepora
Bow, yeah.
acuata.
It's great.
It's, the one that occurs.
Yeah,
at
it
See
looks
that
like
line
an
in
Adrepora.
Sirius's view?
It's pretty far away.
Yeah, just so you're aware of it.
Good. Yeah, the minipcam makes it look a lot closer.
Right.
Oh, it is
I'm
covered
bringing my
with
head
stuff.
around.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Got all the little...
That is really impressive density.
There's some yellow in there
So
behind
is there
it.
any information as to
We'll get the
Go
yellow.
tight,
this stuff
go tight on
actually
the yellow.
decays a wreck versus how much it actually maybe stabilizes one?
It's really high flow
There have
right
been a couple
here
of studies
at the
that
bow.
look at galvanic corrosion and the immediate
There's a
environment.
crab.
And come up with the amount of, millimeters per year deteriorated for iron or steel hull plate.
Yeah.
It's pretty environmental dependent. I think it's a matter
Drifting
of
back.
reaching critical time frame and then some catastrophic collapse and flexing
Drifting back.
rather than a smooth
Coming
curve
back
of
in.
deterioration over time.
Okay. Well, we can pan out and maybe start creeping down or creeping back towards the stern.
Pulling out.
I'm really surprised that, but it makes sense that this was the sub that was the first U.S. sub to have the pivoting bow plates, and
Full
before
wide.
they sank this, it looks like they just cut into the top side of the weather deck and took out bow planes and pivoting mechanisms and
Put it in
kept
something
them.
else, maybe? Yeah.
I mean, they had other series, other subs to build after this.
Well, this would be the other side, right? So we might see them over on this side, but it looks like there are cut points. Well, That's
Yeah.
the tubes
Video,
down
can
there.
you zoom in a touch
So
on
then-
D2 just to get rid of the... thanks.
All right.
Just more light on Sirius now. Turn the lights back on.
Yeah, that looks much better. Can you bring ROV closer to center screen on Sirius?
There, that whole area that's opened
There we
up.
go. That looks great.
There's no anchor on the port side. There'd be fair weather kind of covering to break the water that would stick out to protect the pivoting bow plane, which could rotate
Going low here, Josh. And then I'll rise up.
or retract.
I'm going to come down
They-
a
I
little
think
bit.
they removed
I'm right on top of you.
Yep.
Backing up still.
just going to slowly rise here. I got to back off as I rise.
Have we looked underneath of it yet?
That's as low as I can go.
If you tilt, I can light it.
They want me to?
It'd be nice to see under there.
Go ahead. Go and take the camera, Josh.
Stand by.
Nothing to see.
Tilting up.
Okay. I'm going to start rising slowly.
Pulling out wide.
Ship move complete, guys. How are you looking, co-pilot?
You're full wide.
Good.
Go a little tighter. Get rid of the Josh rack. Thanks.
Coming down a bit, Todd.
Okay, I'm coming up.
So if you're just joining us, this is a live broadcast of video from the seafloor off the coast of Oahu, Hawaii. Today we're combining deep sea biology and human history, marine archaeology. We were visiting the World War I submarine S19. It's a vessel that was scuttled when we were done with it after World War I, and we're using it as a study site to look at the pioneer community that has settled in the last 75 years. We're looking at primarily the deep corals and sponges.
Is that plumbing?
Does look like some type of...
I think this cable mechanisms for the bow planes, which are no longer there. And maybe some plumbing for the bow tubes inside there. And what might be a copper pipe on the right.
Co-pilot, I'm not sure if you can see your sonar, but I'm not sure what this return is. Maybe just something to keep an eye on.
This is all beyond the pressure hull. All of this would have been free flooding. Pressure hulls further aft.
It actually looks best with it on, Josh.
So this is just mechanisms that would have been in the water.
Tubes, doors,
yeah.
Planes, anchor well. Really different from the other side, huh?
Yep, it is. Okay, so kind of make your way up to the deck here. We want to look on the deck because this is where we're going to see more of the corals up on that area. There's a small corallium there in the lower right corner, it looks like. There's more than I thought. I only saw a couple last time, but I've seen more of them this time. So this is the deck that we're now seeing, right? Come up the edge of the hull, and this is the top deck?
I think so, yeah. Forward of where the teak deck would have been was just this kind of graded metal section, free flooding metal section, and maybe a bar there on the right for if the crew had to go forward, give them something to hold on to, not fall over the side. You're beyond all the railing, forward of the railing.
Okay.
Drifting pretty far back.
Yeah, there was that eye poker there. Didn't want to get snagged. There's a fish.
Science, don't forget to look at Sirius speed periodically as well, which you guys get stuck on just close up and miss the wide.
Big valve handle.
Yeah, I know, that's a good point. The wide view is good. So here it looks like we're getting into some control functions as well. There's a wheel there. Or, have any idea what that was for?
This would have been, this is not on any of the plans, so this could have been one of the reach-through scuttling rods that were placed for disposal. So they can be on deck, open up the scuttling shuttlecocks, and sink the thing. Just on the far side of that scuttling rod would have been an area for the capstan and windlass on deck, but again, this is all cut open. May be removed. Yeah, there's no little wheel and post that sticks up like that in any of the plans or pictures I've seen. You can see how it's kind of tacked on with a flange after the fact.
You can probably put a ship move in here, Chris.
Copy that.
So can we look at the Okeanos coral that's in the upper right there and zoom in on that?
Top of the screen?
Yep, top of the
Coming
screen.
into
Doesn't
view.
have to be a long zoom, just a short zoom. Snap in and out. I tend to look at the bigger colonies with a little more scrutiny because they can cover up the center areas and sometimes there'll be
Go
polyps
ahead,
hidden within.
Roland.
That wide view on the minif cam is awesome.
Forward. Nice.
Yeah. Getting a little too close.
Still good.
That's good, thank you.
Okay.
Watch your left tail.
I didn't see any SOSs in there.
Go ahead out.
I didn't either, but I'm sure if you'll see one, you'll sing out, right?
Full wide.
You
Big
got it.
spring.
Right, thanks.
We're above the. You can see the pressure hull down beneath the weather deck. We're above the torpedo room. And there you see the forward access hatch.
Do you want to look at that opposite side over there at all, Science?
I don't know. Where do you want to look here, Hans? Anything particular, or?
We did pretty good in this section.
Yeah.
The command section a little further aft is of interest.
Okay.
We saw, the lack of mechanisms that would have been for the capstan in there, and looking at the top of the pressure hull.
Mm-hmm.
Hatch is closed. Can't look in there.
Losing light.
Yeah.
About to touch down.
Just want to
and
be
see
conscious
if
of
you-
time. Make sure you have time to pick up your
I agree.
devices.
We've got about 1 hour left, so yeah, we should continue moving to the aft area. But
You are full wide.
I think we're making good progress. I'm not too concerned.
Good.
So I want to have time for you to look in the command area because I don't know what we'll find there.
You moving the ship?
I've seen it,
Yes.
but I'm not sure what I was looking at. So
Yep, should move underway.
I'm here with Dr. Hans von Tilburg. He's our archaeologist for NOAA. He works at the sanctuary, and he's been nice enough to come out and take an opportunity to look this wreck over. For me, I see steel and a front and a back and a set of corals on it that I'm interested in. But he's the one who brings the history to the picture. So I'm happy to have you here.
Thanks, Frank. Nice to be here.
So there's a bamboo on the right here. Let's go ahead and zoom on that. And you can do it. You don't have to do it from this side. You can move to the right, and we can zoom back on it so that we're looking at the planner side. That exposes more of the area. Makes it easier to look
There's
at.
that circular hatch thing that we're looking at.
Well, yeah, the question was about the circular spring-loaded with a wheel. It looks like a hatch.
Forward access hatch. Yeah.
Forward access hatch.
And it looks like it's ajar.
So is it
Is that
is
on
it closed
purpose?
and sealed, or is it has the deck corroded away underneath it, or is it open?
It's cracked open, no question, and it may have been set that way before they scuttled the thing to let the air out. The wooden deck is gone. There might not have been solid deck plates like in the forward section of the sub. Because again, the weather section above the pressure hull is all free flooding.
Mm-hmm.
We have more rungs here for access.
All right, I'm moving.
You're moving, Roger.
Yeah, you're still good. You're fine.
Just I know Frank wants a view of that coral. I just floated down, and I'll head back up. And
yeah, there are two corals there, two bamboos. We don't have to spend a lot of time on them, but it's good to snap zoom, which basically brings the camera in so we can look closely, and then we move on. So yeah, you have one in the upper left, and then there's one that we're looking right at the edge on the right. We just keep looking back at them as we move down. That'll be fine.
The next move, Josh, will move you off of the ship sub a little bit.
That's okay.
So if you went into that hatch, would
come
you
up a little bit and get
be in a, where would you be inside the submarine?
Shot.
Yeah, it's a close shot.
You'd be dropping just aft of the torpedo room.
That really sort of puts the sub in perspective.
And just beyond that hatch, they would have rigged, a cargo mast to swing the torpedoes on board at an angle, I believe. Unless they had a diagonal scuttle, an angled scuttle for doing that further aft.
So the reason I'm zooming in on these corals, particularly this coral, is that when I find the gold coral that parasites, this is the host. It's the host pretty much 95% of the time, 85% of the time. This is what they settle on. So we're expecting if the gold coral were to arrive, this is where we would see it arrive. And there's no expectation that we're going to see it because it's only been 3 years since the last time, and it's taken 75 years for this community to grow. But we're coming back to pick up the instruments and take advantage of looking at the wreck, and so we might as well check the corals periodically to see if anything's changed.
This one right here.
Because
ship move complete.
If it had, say, settled even 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we would actually see it because it spreads at roughly 2 centimeters a year. And so that's why we're just taking a little time to look at the places that the coral could settle.
Just
the little
Frank,
you probably know this, but these are Isidella.
Like when you come back up, it lights up
the whole deck.
The whole deck, and you can sort
these
of
corals
see
that I'm looking at.
Okay, Rolly, you want to go in? I'm not at the great perspective.
Right now, the front and center.
It's really not easy to get.
The one front and center, and that's the last one.
So that one right there is Isidella. Yeah, these are Isidella. So these are a bamboo. So there's the two types we were looking at was the Acanella and the Isidella, but anything that had nodes on it was what we were classing as bamboo. And we have seen, if you go across to the, actually Scott will be the next, Scott France will be the next chief scientist or watch lead for the Okeanos Explorer cruise that heads up to the Northwestern Islands and over to Johnson Atoll.
Looking to your right.
And his first stop is going to be the Carbonate Pinnacle 1,000 meters from this wreck. So he's going to go over and he's going to be able to see the mature community on the other side.
Just looking to your right, just to light it up.
There aren't many of these hosts over there. They're mostly full-grown adult gold corals. And one of the things that's been a challenge for me is that the bamboo community specialists who have been looking at bamboo have done a better job at discerning which is what. And I tend to use the old terms. And so Scott is the expert. If he says it's an Isidella, that's what it is. Still one of the bamboo community. So it looks like we're up on the deck now. And this is where you would have had your teak deck, right?
Yeah, I think I saw remnants of it just aft of the forward hatch, right in the midsection.
Do you want to go back and look? Or?
It's captured.
Okay, you got it. All right. Is it reasonable to think teak would still be in place?
We see that a lot. I've seen it on other missions, deep water missions, where some of the wooden deck, for some reason, one portion is still there, a little bit of it.
It's about 10 degrees C at this depth.
Not eaten by critters yet.
Yeah.
Now we're coming into the area where the weather deck expands, the work area for the deck gun. And there is probably the circular base to hold that deck gun down solidly.
Those springs? Are those?
They look like springs, don't they? Yeah. A bunch of little compression springs. Want to go in, Roland?
I do.
Interesting.
Probably a hardened. What would the material be? Like a hardened brass?
Yeah, it's got that color, doesn't it?
Bearings.
Different from the steel.
Go on tight on the spring. Take our camera, Josh, please.
I got it.
No.
Tilting up.
Maybe they're not springs.
It's not springs. Little attachment points.
This was the other business part of the submarine. They were meant to surface if they were going to encounter merchant vessels, show their deck gun, and let everyone else get off before they sank the enemy merchant ship.
I don't know.
Was that common practice?
Gentlemanly rules.
Yeah.
It was attempted.
Yeah.
And then often not obeyed.
They're notched every
Yeah.
quarter.
It's like a collar, maybe.
So
Set the gun down and then.
Your three pilots up here happen to be mechanical engineers, so this is really fascinating for us.
Yeah. Good.
Pulling out.
Wonder if they were like pins. Set a pin and then you screw the collar.
Getting close.
Okay. But great color when you get close. It really
So
pops.
how far are we seeing down into the vessel here? It looks like this is decking with the machinery, but most of the living quarters would be well below that, right?
Oh yeah, we're seeing the plumbing above the pressure hull.
What do you think, Josh? Another short move? Keep you moving?
It must not have been very spacious down there.
I called them pig boats.
Yeah.
Strange. It looks like
certainly
a
not
mattress
spacious
on the
like the later Gato and Balau class
on your
submarines.
HD2 camera.
These S-class submarines, these early submarines, did serve in World War II, but they were consigned to reconnaissance and coastal defense. They weren't frontline attack subs. You can see still at this point we're unsupported in the bow. It's hanging over nothing.
So what do you suppose that is underneath the...
I'll look at the serious view
That's
right now.
interesting.
Zoom
It looks
to
almost
that?
like a cushion that's drifted in.
Yeah.
Piece of my
Mattress
couch.
or something, yeah.
Yeah.
So catches things that drift by.
Yeah.
Good copy, thank you.
Still have some paint.
The red? Is that what you're seeing?
Yep.
I know you want to go in on that, Roland, don't you?
Oh.
Yeah. Is there something specific you want to push in on here, Hans?
That's a whole lot of plumbing.
Yep.
Looks like solid bronze
I'm right
plumbing
above
too.
you here, Todd, so let me know if you start ascending.
So at this point, you know, the deck gun actually rotated, inverted, pointed skyward, and the breech of the gun dropped down into a little tub, and maybe over that hatch is where the inset tub would have been. I don't know.
So the gun would be all these bolts over on the left, and then it would rotate back, and then it would go into this circular area.
The breech had a little inset. They would rotate it up,
lasers at the top.
kind of put a housing around it to try to
grid
streamline
pattern
themselves.
on a pipe. Top of
I'm
the
not
screen.
sure.
Is there a microphone open in the room?
Are you kidding?
There looks to be some obstruction to my right.
Take a lunch break?
Yes,
Are you kidding?
there is stacks.
Periscope stacks.
Periscope stacks.
All right, I'm going to have to kind of ooch around that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far they stick out. I
Can
don't
we
have a good perspective on it.
Can we zoom where lasers are?
What are we looking at, Roland?
The pipe with the holes in it, above and to the left of the lasers, now
So
obstructed.
this section just after the
Stand by.
deck gun would have been the superstructure for the bridge, conning tower. Boy, massive bronze plumbing and flanges.
Can we lose the edge of the skids there, Roland?
Yeah, come in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do you want to go in, Roland?
Yeah, the thing at the top of the screen, is that like a opening to a bilge pump, or see the holes?
Almost looks like an air intake or some sort of vent for ballast tanks.
So we got a fish to the right. Can we kind of veer to the right there? It doesn't look like a Limonema. Maybe it is.
Partial.
Can't tell. It'll come out if we give it a chance.
Yeah, I think it could be.
Could it?
Could be, or it could be a
He
fasciculus.
just poked his nose in the
one or
bottom
other.
left. He's
But
going
We've
to come
seen,
up to
we've
those
seen a number
pipes.
of Limonemias on the boat. So, oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crab in the
Yeah, just as a note,
HD2
we
camera.
caught a glimpse of another more
Inside one of the
earlier.
pipes.
Not a Limonema. It didn't have the white edges on the fins and was a much stockier thing. So there is more than one type of codling down here. But yeah, this is Limonema rotocur.
Looks like some line got fouled or something.
So Bruce, what was the color of the other one?
The other
Pull
one was
out.
more of a chocolate brown instead of a charcoal gray, and I
Back
couldn't
up and,
see any
get around
different
the
colors on the
stack
fin, like
periscope
reddish
here.
color or a black margin on
Full
the
wide.
fin. And of course, we couldn't turn it over to see if there was a light organ on the belly.
You can pick them out pretty well
I
in sonar.
don't know more than either Medela or Fasciculus.
That was neat.
Yeah, thank you. I slipped out for a little bit to grab a bite of lunch there, so I missed it.
Pathy's right in the middle there. Is this the
That's a
hatch
great
companion?
shot. Yeah, that's the superstructure, bridge, conning tower. It's got to be access in the control
Right.
compartment.
Let me find the end of this.
So we got a little
eye poker.
Pathy's right there
Fantastic.
aft of the
That's the
access
way in.
port. Yeah.
That's the way in.
So
Where's it, Josh?
Should move complete
To your
pilot.
starboard, it's I can't see it right now in sonar.
Into the
so
pressure hull.
It's too dark.
It would be worth a nice close
Video
look in there
switching
to
out.
see how much sedimentation has gone inside.
Pilot, can we
How
zoom
much?
down into that square right below the lasers?
We sure can, Frank. I'm going to find the end of this eye poker before we go any tighter.
Yeah.
Just get oriented.
Well, this
Definitely.
This is a good view because you can also see the
Great,
bamboo,
great
the
shot.
large
There
bamboo
he
on
is.
that.
Yeah.
That's the largest one on the vessel, so we want to take a look at that as well.
Roger.
So once you take a look down inside the access point for the S19, then we can turn right and look at the.
Roger that. I just
The
wanted to
bamboo.
orient ourselves to make sure we didn't come up against that.
Definitely look like periscope housings.
There's definitely a bit of current going south. Hi, Tara. Tara's in the video seat, and she probably didn't hear that last request, what we want to look at. So, hi, Tara. Tara's in the video seat, and she probably didn't hear that last request, what we want to look at. So, can you
yeah,
repeat that.
what we want to do is we want to zoom in into this this square area right here. This is the access, and there's you want to look at the walls of the access?
I think it's the access.
Okay.
Go ahead and partial
I don't
Tara.
see anything else that could be yet.
Holding
But it's
partial.
looking just like a box.
Is that where they would have poured cement? And he said they filled these. You said they used concrete blocks. And
Yeah,
things
they
like
put
that.
concrete blocks inside. They
Yeah.
didn't pour anything to
Yeah.
fill it up like that. but
Yeah.
Maybe the access point is further aft.
See that
I
yellow
haven't seen
coral
any
in
access
your
point
port
yet to the
manip
pressure
camp?
hull.
That's the
This looks like
post.
just a box.
To starboard of, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on that.
Well, if this was where the conning tower was, there'd be structure built up around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this they cut it off on this
Frame it up.
this elliptical loop. The shrimp are making good use of it. Policianica,
Yeah,
right?
maybe that's not the
Yeah.
access point.
Okay. Well, maybe we can zoom out and take a look at the bamboo.
Full way.
We're going to try to keep those the current sensor rack out of the view, Tara.
Copy that.
There. Thanks. So I'm going to just rise up a little and try to give you a good shot
Oh.
of the
What's the post?
coral.
Oh, okay. Tilt up.
Okay, go for
Yep.
partial, and I'll rock it into the center.
Great.
Again, as we move towards the the stern, maybe we can take a look at the fan on its planar side. What we're looking for is any little fluorescent yellow bit that might be colonization by
Tip up a little, Josh.
gold coral.
Got a basket star over there to the right. Looks like he's all closed up, if I'm not mistaken.
What time is off bottom? 12:30?
12:15 is off bottom. So we got 45 minutes left.
Go partial.
Affirmative.
So
I was just about to remind you, actually, 45 minutes.
Yeah, let's just we'll zoom on these things and we'll just keep moving. You want to keep moving to the stern.
Yeah, affirmative. I think we're doing okay.
Okay.
Tilting up.
Just keep this pace. If we stop and look for too long, we'll want to jump ahead.
Well, you know that we're going to want to swoop up the flow meter off the stern and then drop down and pick up the
let's let that go.
The mock-up. So if just start working the timeline back from that, and then tell us if we need to move quicker.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
Holding partial still.
Go on out.
Yeah, it looks like a sort of closed up basket star on that
full
little
way.
coast.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything that looks like an access hatch in this area.
Ooh, what's that on the seafloor right down there?
Maybe they blanked that off. You know, if they're going to take the superstructure off and leave a big gaping hole on the top side and tow this thing out to the disposal area, they might want to close that access before doing so.
Yeah, I see. You're saying that you get a splash and water and everything in there, and it might actually go down before you're ready for it to go down.
Yeah.
What is this?
Any ideas about what this is, Hans?
It's a piece of equipment.
Oh.
Video, please.
I'm really glad we brought you out.
I'm glad I was able to identify that for you.
That's the equivalent of Bruce Munday saying it's a fish.
There's another beer can, soda can. Unfortunate legacy of how we've treated our oceans. That is a solid bronze valve of some sort. Man.
Have a bit more zoom.
Perhaps a klaxon, my friend Dan Warren is suggesting. Dive klaxon.
What is that? Is it the thing that makes the noise?
Yeah.
Dive, dive, dive. Oh, interesting. It's pretty
Let's
big.
go out.
It looks like it extends way back. So
it's attached to something.
Yeah.
Pipe-like.
Yeah, it's just kind of fallen out of the central area. There's some of that railing. So these are things that were maybe sticking up higher in this general area and have over time have fallen outboard with some plastic stuff drifting in.
Some of this plastic stuff is believed to be old film reel that got thrown overboard.
Sorry, you want to get rid of those
strip
that rack
there.
things.
Of course.
That
Thank you, pilot.
seeing some of this, and I'm not sure this is. I'm not saying
What do we
this
got
is,
for
but
zoom
we
on
have seen that
Sirios?
before out here in Pearl Harbor.
We zoomed in, out, or what?
Not sure what happens
Yeah,
to
it's
film
full
over
wide.
time
Full
in
wide,
water,
aye,
whether
thank
it
you.
go completely transparent like that or not.
Right, might be just about time for a move here.
Yeah, it's looking like 15 meters, 000.
Okay. Call it in.
that's a good view of it here.
Bridge.
That looks like
Liz,
a remnant of
that
wooden
you
deck.
left behind?
What was that? Excuse me.
Like to request a ship move. 15 meters.
Looks like there was a plastic
Bearing
bucket lid or
000
something over to the
at
right.
0.2
I was asking
knots.
Frank if that was something that he left behind with an instrument.
No, I didn't. So sorry. That's I'm
You
here
got
to
it.
get the
Thanks.
stuff that I left behind. So
That was just a joke. That was
no, I understand.
Yeah, that blank access port must have been the hatch into the pressure hull. Here's the pressure hull again. Solid.
So is that a Chonex in there or a Scorpinid?
Yeah, we should zoom on the fish.
Just trying to figure that out from this angle.
It's got a different color. It looks like it could be a Chownax.
So can we zoom on the fish there?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Maybe epigonid up here. Is that what's swimming over to us, or is that a?
No, it's Epigonid.
Is
The
Epigonid?
ship
He's
is
pretty high
underway
off
at
the bottom.
000.
It's usually further down.
Thanks, Nath.
That's
Yeah.
a Chownax spruce.
Yeah, look at
I can
that.
see it pretty clearly
Yeah.
now.
Okay, video, we can start coming in.
And here's the
Here's the
Hilardia we saw
Hilardia,
earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fish love their history. They really appreciate it.
Definitely a Chownax. Chownax invariatus.
Wow.
So, that's excellent.
Wow, look at that.
Amazing.
Looks like he's got something fuzzy in his nose. Something up above his eye there.
Poor hygiene. I don't. Bad jokes. Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is a frogfish, or I'm trying to think of the common name for this group.
So pilots, just so you're aware, we have about 30 more meters to get to the end of the stern, and we need to be done in about 10 to 15 minutes with the sub. So have time to go pick up the sensors.
Roger that. Okay.
I'll just frame him up.
It's a good color, though.
Yeah.
Great.
I think we'll be within reach of the stern
Okay,
at
so
the end
we
of
Got an
this move.
expression on his face that says, "How long can I have?
We'll
How
keep
long
it
do I have
going.
to put up with this abuse?"
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you, pilot.
Can we pan left?
We can.
Okay, so I've been looking at the plans, and according to the plans, trunk access to the pressure hull is aft of the periscopes and aft of this large stanchion, this large pipe. And I'm looking directly at the top of the pressure hull here. I'm just not seeing the access hatch.
Aft is to the right, isn't it?
Yeah, the aft's to the right.
Yeah,
But
I'm just moving along here looking for something aft of it.
Yeah.
It's not what the lasers are on now.
I
Is
see
it here?
sand. I see sand.
Is this it? What's right ahead of us right now with the little tiny hole?
That's got to be pretty large. It's ladder and
should be
Yeah,
midships too, right?
Working to your right
I would
there, I think.
fairly
dead center.
midships.
Yeah.
But the
Might
plans
reveal
definitely
itself.
show it.
Okay, well, I'll keep moving right here. I'll see if we
Yeah.
can find the hatch.
Yeah.
We're not. I mean,
Nav
they might
has
have just
reminded
blanked the
us
whole
of
thing
our
over. They may
time.
have just welded something on top
What do
of
we
it.
have
or-
for time to get to the back?
Yeah, we want to make sure we keep it on that time. So
About
Roughly
10
10 more minutes, yeah.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah,
And
we're
you
not
have
seeing
about
it. and
30
we can keep
meters
moving
to
because
go.
we're already at the cleats.
Yeah, just about 30
After
meters.
the conning
Well, I've
tower and
led
the
you a
weather
little
deck.
bit. We're lined up nice. You'll get there.
Copy that.
Wonder if we could zoom that coral right there. The
Which
fan,
one?
The fan.
this
fan
one
on
here
the right?
on the right,
Fan, yeah.
the Lyrate fan
Coming
on the
around.
right, where the spring is.
There's your hatch.
Yep.
There's the hatch.
There's a
There's
hatch
a
right
hatch.
there.
Yeah.
That's
There's a hatch.
definitely a hatch.
But
seems to be a long
Okay,
way
video,
aft of
come
the
on in.
periscopes.
Oh, there's Hydrodendron gorgonoide. That's the coral behind it. And then to this one here.
Just coming in on it a little to light it
that
up.
is Narella, maybe?
I'll zoom as you centered up.
Okay. There you go.
Or Cliptophora, I'm not sure.
I think that's probably a Narella.
Narella? Okay. It's got a Hormathiid on it, looks like. the coral there, you're seeing sort of the base.
Yeah, let's
of
get
that's
another
hypodendron
move. 15
right there,
meters at
the
3,
hypozoan.
1.
And that's the base
Five,
going all
I
over the
believe.
rust right there, extending over,
315.
creating a fast, a big hole fast.
We're really too far aft. We're out of the conning tower area, and we're getting into the engine room area.
That'll put us about 10
So
meters
this
off.
hatch would
That's
take us
fine.
to the engine room?
There's a small hatch going to the engine room. Yeah.
Bridge, Nav.
They've covered over that opening in the conning tower area.
Another ship move, please. 15 meters, bearing 315
Prior
at
to
0.2 knots.
I'll just keep scanning. If you see anything you want me to stop and look at longer, I'll stop. Otherwise, this is a
That's it,
massive
thanks.
hole.
So do you think
Otherwise,
this
we
is an
aren't a little-
implosion, or what do you think this is?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't know. Yes, it is. Why not?
I mean,
This should be engine room area, and I'm looking in and not seeing a whole lot of engine.
They wouldn't have had this hole sitting open on the deck while they're towing it out, or would they have? Would it have been high enough that they could have had this?
No.
But I'm just
No.
going to zoom enough to lose the
Okay.
rack.
That's fine with me. Yeah, thanks.
These boats didn't have a whole lot of buoyancy. They were noted for that during their service careers. They were fairly wet on deck. We should be looking at the Naselco twin diesel engines.
That right there where the lasers is? You think that's it?
I think that's a little forward and close to the hatch. I think, if I'm guessing right, we should be looking right into where the
This is probably where they were
twin
mounted.
diesels
Maybe they
were,
took
and
them
then
out.
this would say maybe they're not even in there anymore.
So
Not sure.
How would they get it out? Would they actually cut a hole in the hull and then
Maybe this
weld
is the
it
hole they
together?
removed it out of.
Yeah.
That'd be the simplest way.
Okay, so can we go up and look at this little coral that's just above the, I don't know what that is. Is that a brass?
The orange one.
Yeah, the orange one. That's I assume it's,
Oh,
this is where we have some of the other bamboos.
over here?
Yeah, straight way above the lasers where they are now.
Yep. Okay.
Take a look at that. I think we looked at this guy here on the way over as well, but we
Okay.
do a snap zoom and then just keep going.
Yeah, come on in.
Sure thing.
Okay. Okay, we can move up to the other one on the, I think we did the other one on the rise already, but
Okay, you
keep-
want to come out partial, please, video? Up on the,
yeah, up on this tripod or whatever it is that we're looking at. Yeah, we're just looking.
That's the weather deck.
Yeah,
and this is that area that was cut away. And they cut the weather deck away right over the area where they opened the hull open, where the engines are missing. So I think that's
you
what they
videoed
did
this, or you'd
prior
like to zoom?
He wants to zoom in on this. I think,
Yeah, we
pilot.
can zoom in and then move
Okay.
to the right a little bit.
Come on
to the
in,
next
video.
one. But
I could be mistaken, but I think we've got two different types of iscidids here.
well, that's what Scott was just saying.
Oh, he said-
First of all, I was referring to it as an acanelity and pointed out that it's an acidid.
Yeah.
And then, so let's zoom out and go to the right a little bit and look over at the the other one.
Come on out partial.
These are, I went through these.
Hold it partial.
Go ahead, Scott.
At least 3 different iscidids on
So pilots, we have about 20 more meters to get to the stern.
Right, you saw the
And
unbranched
about
one.
5
Was it
minutes.
a little
Ideally, 5 minutes to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there an did you say Isidella?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
I was
Seeing
calling
the
it the wrong
stern
thing.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So which is the Isidella? The one we just looked at?
No, it was. If you were out having lunch, that's
Oh,
how you missed
okay,
it.
that's why
But
I
you
was-
said lunch was very good. So
It really was.
Okay, so okay, we can
It
zoom
looks
out.
like that last ship move is complete.
Oh, okay.
And these are
All
more
right.
bushy in nature.
But
so.
you think these two orange ones are the same, Scott?
based on the limited view that I had there, yeah.
Okay.
So watch lead nav.
Yes, go ahead.
So we have about half an hour left in the dive.
Yep.
About 20 meters to get to the end of the stern, and we still need to pick up the 2 sensors. So.
Sure is.
So I'm sorry I missed the last part of that. Go ahead again.
We have about half an hour left in the dive. We're about 20 meters from the end of until the stern. And we still need to pick up the sensors, so we'll need to keep moving if we want to hit that time.
We'll keep moving. So I was listening to this is Madreporo that we're passing over, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm here waiting for you.
Okay.
Look good.
Everything looks good.
Yeah.
Move a little quicker here.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
Okay, let's zoom in on this yellow coral on the right, but we don't have to stop. Just zoom as we keep passing. That's
okay.
fine.
Copy that.
Got a basket
come on
star on it.
Yeah. Is this a plexaurid? What are we looking at? What is this?
I think it's a Canthagorgia.
A Canthagorgia?
Yeah.
Is this a striata or what is it?
I just Canthagorgia.
Just going Canthagorgia. Okay.
So you are very close to where
Scott
you need
might
to
have
stop
an
for the
opinion on that
instrument, so
too.
there's no need to hurry.
Okay.
I have it in sight.
Okay.
Copy that.
I
Thank
don't
you.
disagree with you, Chris.
Down. Okay, we can zoom out. Thanks.
All right.
Video, we can come in a little bit on Sirius cam.
Great, thank you, Plane Pilot.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure your crab is Munida.
Unida.
I didn't even see the crab, but
Yeah.
thank you, Mary. That's the voice
That's
of Mary
good. Let's
Wickstein
hold
calling
that
in
right
from
The
Texas
hatch
A&M.
and the device.
So here's the hatch at the absolute.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most aft hatch, right?
So just take your
I
time
believe
and
so.
set
It's
yourself
front.
up in Auto
Okay.
XY for that.
Okay.
Okay.
And what's that weird thing right next to it?
That unfortunately is what appears to be a failed current meter or flow meter because it when I deployed it there was no flow at all, and so we must have somehow when we put it out bent the shaft on it, because the other ones we picked up on this cruise, we picked them all up and they spun. They're spinning freely without any problems at all, but it looks like this one's not spinning, or else it got fouled at some point. Something wrapped around the shaft.
Well, let's get this thing off of there. What
Yeah.
do you say? Let's
Well,
pull it off the wreck.
You got to fix it. Absolutely, take it off.
It's not historically appropriate.
Yeah, but it's about the size of a coral, so it'll actually detect the flow that comes over. And one advantage of placing it here is this is where the corals grow, so you are actually measuring the flow that's going over that the corals cover.
You know what I think would have been fun is if we hadn't told Hans that you had an instrument here and that you were coming to retrieve it, and then we're serving the sub, and he goes, "What is that?"
Yeah, well, that was a piece of World War I technology.
I would have had to make something up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is exactly why we brought down that mock-up for the tilt meter on the first part of the dive, is that one of the problems with having anything that's like a little anemometer with a spinning propeller, that works great in the air, but out in the water, the water is full of slime and all kinds of particulates and everything that can wash right over and wrap around it and seize it, and then it ceases to function. So moving to something that basically just bends with the current and then will shed whatever that item is and then tilt back up will continue to work is the way to move in the future. But when we started putting these out, that was probably 6 years ago or whatever. A lot of that stuff, the tilt technology and all that hadn't been looked at, hadn't been engineered. So now that that's actually coming online, we're looking to use that in the future. But we still have it. Still records the temperature and records things like that. So it's worthy of grabbing.
So Scott, that coral to the lower right looks a bit like it could be a Paracalyptrophora to me, but I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
I can't tell whether it's in reach or not.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think you might have to sidle a little bit left around. I don't know, a coral there.
Pushed a little left.
Yeah.
Do one more here. It's doing well at fighting the current.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Looking at the aluminum legs on there, one of the legs is very, very corroded, and the other two is not.
Back off a little.
That is interesting. I hadn't noticed that.
I wonder if there's
thinking maybe reach out.
maybe a situation where that
See
part
how
of the
it
leg
and
got
then-
made in
and then
contact with
back
the stainless
away.
steel, dissimilar metal. And
Yeah.
Deal with it.
corroding.
Somewhere
Yeah,
else.
for sure. So the auto is constantly pulling me that way.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep asking it left. Maybe you want to keep pushing it left while I reach out. As it loses its way right, maybe you could keep it.
Oh, it's 10th meter steps, so yeah.
Well, the good news is without this impeller turning, all the other ones were flipped over, and it's because it's been our experience that we can put them down, and then there's a couple of months before some fish comes along and notices there's something rotating erratically, and it gets whacked and it gets knocked over. So, you know, you can look at the data, and it's actually not even very high flow, and all of a sudden it stops.
I'm
going to
try for it.
So,
see how close it is.
because this one wasn't spun, nothing came along and knocked it over.
Bring the mini Zeus around for me.
Zeus.
So it should be easier to pick up because it's standing up.
For those of you just joining us from your home or from the Maui Ocean Center on the island of Maui or the Aquarium of the Pacific, Long Beach, California, welcome. This is a live broadcast from the Deep Discover ROV deployed by the ship
Auto
Okeanos
XY is
Explorer.
shooting forward and
We are
right.
Okay, let me
almost
scooch over a little
400
bit.
meters below the surface of the
Left and
sea,
back, maybe a
south
touch.
of the island of Oahu. We're diving on a submarine that was scuttled and sank in
Certainly within
1938
reach.
called the S19.
Wonder if
And
we've
we're
bumped
getting ready
into
to
that
actually retrieve
hatch
an
on the
instrument
left.
that was placed on the sub, I guess, a couple of years ago. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's a 2013.
Right, so we're not actually picking a
see if
piece
you
of
can
the
get it.
submarine off. We're actually recovering a piece of an instrument that was actually placed on the sub itself.
There you go.
So that's what you're
Wonderful,
seeing
thank
right now. And then as soon as we have this particular instrument, we're going to go pick up something that's on the sediment.
It's just out of reach, isn't it?
And,
You might get it.
And finish up the dive with these two acquisitions.
Okay, you know what?
It's
You gotta come up.
It's always
Just
a
out of
challenge,
reach.
yeah, trying to figure out where it is.
So if you would mind,
Let's see.
So this submarine,
Ted,
as
push
you've,
yourself up.
noted,
I
if you've been
can't do
watching
it
for a
from
while,
here.
it's completely
And then you'll
overgrown.
slide to the
Wide
left.
variety of corals. It's one of the prettiest wrecks
There you
that most of us have been on down here. It seems to have been disposed
keep
of at a
moving.
very
couple
good
more
depth
bumps.
for where there's quite a lot of different types of corals and sponges and other types of things that colonize
Okay,
it.
in reach.
Got it. Okay,
Got it.
backing you
That's
up.
it. Okay. Good job, folks.
Yep.
Nicely done.
Oh, man, the leg just came right off.
I
It's so
guess-
corroded.
Yeah, that was a pretty corroded leg.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Your
Backing up
blade,
some
your
more.
propeller is really having a hard time moving,
It's
isn't
it's
it?
fouled. Yeah, something
Yeah.
fouled it. Yeah. So, but
Okay. Do you want to try? And then back you up just a
Your
little
legs
bit
are
more
aluminum,
here.
is that right?
yeah, they corrode very quickly.
So do we-
they
do
were
we want
selected
to-
solely for that purpose, that they would just rot away
I
quickly.
bet you can
It is
knock
bizarre
that
that
last
only one
leg
of them
off
really
on your
rotted away very
got two
quickly, and
legs
the other
left.
two
Like the two legs
were in
left?
pretty good
Yeah.
shape.
Yeah,
Try
my
it.
guess is that it's served as kind of the
On the
zinc
box?
anode, and
Yeah, on
so-
the foot there. Just see if you can.
Now the propeller's going a little faster.
No, it's still it
It's
should be
still
spinning.
sticky?
The other ones we picked up on this cruise were rotating very fluidly, and even though they had toppled over
Look
time.
how those hull plates have opened up in this stern section
Probably just get it in the box. Let me bring it in.
towards the bottom.
Bring the
If that's what we're seeing,
port wing inboard for you.
that's
Yeah.
odd.
It'll go in there. Partially, anyway.
No, I think we're going to put this in the starboard wing, aren't we?
Do you want to? Okay. Starboard wing eye coming inboard.
Is this leg okay? That's actually falling off.
So those were designed to be detachable then.
They were actually.
That's fantastic.
Well, part of the reason is that when you pick them up, you've got to be able to put it away, and if they don't fit anywhere, so what you do
Is
is
it inboard?
you just
It is
bend it
inboard,
down
yep.
and stick
Right.
them into the boxes. But when you look at the other flow meter or the tilt meter that we're looking at using, that's going to be a little easier, we hope, because you'll just be able to put the discs in and close the lid. But that's what we'll be figuring out on the way out. So.
Yeah, that's really strange. I mean, for this submarine that looked so intact and wasn't flexing, didn't have a lot of active corrosion, except the portions in the bow they cut open to remove mechanisms. We didn't see a whole lot of holes opening up. When we get back here on the port side, stern, and it looks like the hull plates have
Might
just
be able to
wasted
mash
away. and opened up
That weight down
into the
after you let
frames,
go of it.
steel frames. If that's what we're seeing, that's odd.
Oh, sweet. How convenient.
Okay, good job, folks.
So that aluminum leg that fell off is right there. Is that okay to stay there, or?
It's your call, you guys. Whatever you want to do. If you want to pick it up, that's fine.
I don't know how
I think we
easy
should
it would
leave
be
it
to
there.
grab.
Yeah,
It's
damage the whole motor.
it's just gonna rot away very quickly, you guys. It's
Okay.
it's half.
That's-
It's falling apart now. It's going to turn into nothing in a
All
very
right.
short time.
Great.
It's
Thanks.
very soft, pliable aluminum. It was picked specifically so it would corrode
Probably
away.
a good
Could you
time
do a
to
quick zoom on this coral before we
trade
leave
off here
this,
since you're
bushy
stable
coral
in
right,
auto.
the lower left, sort of the pink one. They're doing a ROV team change out right now.
And if we have time after that, maybe just drop down a bit and peer into this stern section to see this odd deterioration.
So Josh, before we leave, by any chance could we do a snap zoom on this coral in the lower left corner?
All right, watch, Lee. Do you want to see the coral in the lower left?
Yeah, just a quick snap zoom on this orange one right here, the bushy one.
Yeah, you can follow that by heading down, and we want to look at the undersection of the sub as well.
So right to the left of the lasers, right here.
That's correct.
Okay.
This larger one.
All right, video, come on in. And if you get any more, I'll try to come tighter here.
Zoom.
Yeah, so I think it's a Paracalyptrophora. I don't know. See what Scott's opinion is on this one. They tend to have smaller polyps and calyces, as I recall, but I'm not 100% sure this is what we're looking at.
Drifting off it, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Drifting
you're
away.
backing up a little bit. I can come partial.
No, you good.
Okay, pilots, we have 20 minutes left.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
All right, when you're ready, come on out.
And if we can
Okay,
zoom out
stand
and
by.
go look down, that
can
would
get
be
this
good
out
because
machine.
Hans is interested in seeing the
Yeah,
the
this seems to be
plates.
really opened up in this port stern section for some odd reason. Look at that. And then as
Come
we
in.
move further aft, it'd be great to get a nice shot of the rudder planes and the beautiful scalloped, fluted dive plane area.
If we're going to
I'm
get
gonna
those
get
shots,
more
we should
zoom.
do it now.
No.
Further down.
Go ahead and zoom out.
Zoom out
and drop down.
And drop down.
Yeah.
Zoom out.
Zoom out and drop down. Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Chris.
Yeah. That's it. That's what we want.
Did it open up, or is it just the bottom of
Maybe it's just the
It's just the angle,
the angle of
the
it?
shadows.
yeah. We pan up a bit.
Panning up.
I think maybe it's the rusticles.
Yeah.
They had me all excited there for a second, those rusticles. Pan up a bit more.
Panning up.
And then let's go ahead and see if we can get a shot of the dive planes and rudder.
If you're going to come
Oh,
my
there we
way,
are.
I'm going to
I
have to
realize
come up.
you're
Are
that
you
close
full
to
wide
the
on
depth
Sirius
here.
HD?
Okay, so it's
No,
not all
I think
opened up
we're
back there.
zoom
All right.
partial.
Except for some
get,
patch
Get
holes.
what you need to get some really nice shots
Yeah,
of
if you
this,
look at
all
the Cirrus
Gotcha,
overhead
copy
shot down on the D2, you can see.
Yeah, look at that.
You
That's
can
beautiful.
see a great shot of,
rotate just
of
to
what
the
looks
right.
like Captain Nemo's submarine. So
Okay.
There you can see the bulge for the port propeller
Nice.
shaft there.
Are you just going to walk around this, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay, because if you were to back up, I would need to come up.
Yeah, I'm not going to back up. I'm just going to walk around it lateral. And
Pilots, we have 5 more minutes
Nice.
on the sub doing shots, and then we have to go get this
Sometimes
sensor we deployed.
I know it's difficult to completely clean wrecks sometimes, but it seems like some of the disposal events that, you know, the way that certain ships are disposed, they want to get them in the deepest water possible and just get rid of them. But you can clearly see on this wreck that there's real value here because you have an absolute known date when that substrate appeared on the bottom.
Yeah.
And if there was a little more willingness, perhaps by the Navy or some other groups that are disposing wrecks at sea, to actually place these carefully, you know, maybe some type of a cooperative agreement that would maybe cover the expenses of cleaning it adequately,
Right.
then you could have tremendous value here.
Co-pilot, you
learn
comfortable
so
with a bit more zoom?
I think you're right. And I think that's been either done in certain places or certainly talked about in terms of disposing older vessels and their potential for experimental platforms and for science. Great shot of the stern section, dive plane, rudder area. Planes are removed, but there are the twin shafts for the 2 props at the very stern of the S19. You can see where the rudder post would have run right through that sleeve and held between the braces for the planes, rudder planes. And it looks like those were all taken off prior to disposal.
Too bad the propellers would have been pretty picturesque too.
They would.
They'd kept them,
But they would have looked a lot less Nautilus-like. You know, they would have.
That's true.
I mean, if you think about it, this has been on the bottom 75 years. If, let's say we actually had found the Nautilus in Jules Run, that would have been 150 years ago. Then we would have asked ourselves what the coral community would have looked like at that point. You know, we'd be looking at 75 years into the future. And maybe we would have found little planula settling on the bamboo hosts, and we might have seen, you know, some gold coral settling. That would have been the Midas phase. That's what I refer to it. You know, when they make the transition over to gold.
Go back in and try to get most of the tether out of the view.
Transition.
I don't think you're going to get it, though. It's probably there to stay.
It's just a gorgeous view.
With the current the way it is.
Classic.
Yeah. And the fish certainly, the epigonids also really fascinating.
Sensor rack video.
So those yellow crinoids are the same ones we see over at
Can we lose the sensor rack, please?
Of course.
I think so. I called them Antodon.
Antodon?
Yeah.
Because they're all over everything down at Mach.
All right, pilots, finish up this shot. Let's go get that other sensor.
There's a beautiful tubular hydrozoan that's right at near the base of the one fin there.
Yeah.
When I come up with this
You
tether,
can see the tubes for the rods for the control planes for the rudder.
To see.
Just above the propeller shaft on the vertical stabilizer there, a couple tubes for the control rods.
All right.
Well, that was excellent.
Come
I think
wider.
that was everything I had hoped I was going to be able to do. How about you, Hans? How was it for you?
Shot of it.
This is
So,
a
Josh, we
G-rated
gotta-
program. I don't want to get into describing how I feel right now.
So where did you
Wonderful.
place your tilt meter?
See it?
The tilt meter is, we're going to pan around and see if we can see it. The whole point
It's
is
right
it should
behind
be
us.
something we should be able to pick out in the distance pretty readily.
It's pretty close to the fins.
Yeah.
'cause
It's
I
right there.
remember-
We can see it, Frank.
And we also
Where's
want to
the sub to me right now.
we also want
To your left.
All right,
keys
I'm
whether
gonna
we can
back up.
find it here
Yeah.
in the sand, because it's sort of the same color as the sand. So if we can
Should
find
be
it
able
here,
to-
we'll be able to find it on
Gonna appear right
carbonate
to our
reef.
starboard in a second here.
I think we were actually on the east side of the fins when you deployed it, because I could sort of see the fins in the dimness of the background.
Well, I think it's going to come up under the right here. I was just looking at the
There it
overhead.
is.
Yep, there it is.
Oh, that's cheating, though.
Yeah, well, that's the way I work, man. So, anyway, that's it's tilting. That's nice. I wish I had an instrument in it. Now, if we had had that sitting on the stern of the S19, there'd have been no chance of the impeller fouling or anything like that. So this really illustrates, trying to move to a kind of capability and technology that allow us to get nice
Do we
measurements
not want to
in
set
the
down?
environment.
Set the.
They sat down to deploy it.
Oh, okay.
So now what they're going to do is
How dynamic the sediment is.
they've set up a
foot
rack
gone
that they could take 5 of these down,
weight.
and if we had 2 racks, we could take 10 of these down. So then you could lay them out along the line. The question is, when you went to go to pick them up, how you're going to manage them and where you're going to put them. So that's why they're going through this process to pick it up.
Hey Nav, can you do a
So
bump
on that
to
one
the
wreck alone, I counted
northwest?
44 different species.
Sure
of
thing.
animals.
315, 5
Okay.
meters.
That's a lot for a small
Or
little
325,
wreck here.
5
And then
meters.
if you look all
Sure
around
thing.
it, there's nothing.
You said 5 meters?
5, 7 meters.
For a long way.
Yep.
I'm just going to try.
Even
to,
if there's a little bit of
I'm not
hard
sure I'll
bottom
get it in
exposed
time.
here and
I don't wanna
there,
watch
it's
D2
low
do
enough
this.
that it basically is scoured by this sand
do we
that
have
goes over it.
hydraulics?
S19 sits high enough that it actually protects the community that's settled on it.
And let's bring
wanna go ahead?
the port box in.
Going to go ahead and
Chris
open it
and
first.
Mike, earlier when you were
There you go.
out, there were some very handsome Plesionica that had longitudinal orange and red stripes on them. They were by that structure you thought was a hatch that had a lot of sand in it. Anybody know what those are?
Yeah, those are Plesionica pacifica, Mary. That's at least what we've always
Not
called
the
them.
same. No, they're not the same thing.
Oh, it's a different one?
Quite different.
It doesn't matter
Definitely
now,
different
Chris.
colors.
Oh, I didn't
They'll
see
be
them,
finished
and maybe
quickly.
I'll see them when I look at the imagery afterward.
So, Mary, did you see
Yeah,
Plesionica?
they were only in that one location.
Huh.
So, did you see the Pacifica and other locations on the?
It's all over the place.
Okay, I want to make sure that we. Okay.
So it
I saw the same thing too. They had longitudinal stripes, anterior, posterior, not the vertical bars that the Pacifica had.
But was that a Plesionica, though? Can you go to genus or Mary, or is
That's
that
the idea, Jess.
you
You're
think
going to
was
stuff it
something
as far
else?
aft as possible.
Yeah.
And far outboard as possible. Is that the intent?
That's the
I
idea.
would guess Plesionica. I couldn't get a close enough look to see the rostrum very well.
It was not very pleasant.
Because we have something in our gallery, let's see, that has longitudinal stripes, and we have a Plesionica edwardsi. It's a pretty small one, and it does have longitudinal stripes, sort of light colored and then sort of a dark red color. And that may have been the one you've seen, or that you saw.
The thing is stripes like a fish called a peppermint
So
bass.
let's
I don't know if
stuck
you've
on
ever
the,
seen one of them.
Shilling?
Yeah, the edwardsi, or at least what we call edwardsi, has it looks like peppermint actually.
Watchley, can you unlatch me, please? Can you unlatch me? Thank you.
Well, be sure you look at the film later.
There. No, it's
Alrighty.
definitely not
Okay.
stuck on the manip.
We'll do that.
Yeah, maybe. What's it touching?
It's touching the base.
Base of the manip?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Guess we could have drawered out just a touch if we really wanted to. So that's unfortunate.
In terms of an
We really don't want it
archaeological
doing that, do
survey,
we?
site survey, this was really excellent.
I don't think it's ever done that, has it?
Thank you guys, and thank OER for
That's a lot of
including
stress
this
on those hinges.
multidisciplinary mission.
So
really nice footage.
How are we looking on
How
main
much do you want
HG?
for it?
I'll have to talk to them.
I can't see anything in
Tilt
the
down
moment.
on mini Zeus.
Yeah, let me just
Except for the drawer.
We don't really want it to.
Yeah,
It's right there. We don't
right
want it there.
We don't want it there. All right, let me tilt back up on mini Zeus. I'm going to open the lid again.
Roger that.
As we leave, if it's
You might be able to
possible,
slide
zoom
it.
in on one of those
No.
epigonus in the
I'll
distance,
just-
although it looks like they're swimming away, but it'd be nice
One
to get a
thing we
close-up
could do
of
is
one
put
of
the
those.
shilling in a certain spot that as you
Yeah, Bruce, right now they're
go outboard,
messing
it
with
closes it.
the
and you can
lids and
hold
all
the
that, so I'm
sensor
gonna let them.
forward. I don't know.
I think I really come away with a better understanding of the construction of this class of sub and the types of things they would do in 1938 to get rid of this and what they kept.
There you go.
What they thought was important
Sneaky.
and what they didn't need.
Do you know how many they actually had and they got rid of?
I think they built about 51 S-class subs and then went on to the next class.
Oh.
That's all right.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want the port manip?
We have several out here in
fine.
Hawaii. S4, S28.
Or the starboard manip.
The S4 had a tragic history in the East Coast. A number of lives lost. Couldn't recover them. Then it was raised and brought out here and used as a training vessel. So sailors would go inside, they'd flood it again and put them to their paces, which is a little bit grisly. The S-28 was lost with all hands during the war, 1944, I think, doing practice torpedo runs with the U.S. Coast Guard escort Reliance. And then all of a sudden they lost communications, and an oil patch came up, and never heard from him since. So the S-28 is a real mystery. Same type, same Holland class
of the
type
box
of
to guide them,
them forward as you closed it.
Yeah.
Because imagine
That's
10
one
of these,
class
you
sub.
wouldn't be able to
Right.
do that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a few miles from here. So
Just something.
hopefully,
Then
if there's a
again,
good
what if
target
you
to
put the
investigate
shilling
in
in a
time,
way
that would be a real high
that as
priority
you
site
go
for
outboard,
us.
it closes? And
And
with
a
the
lot of
craft, you
families
just kind
are
of like
aware that
sweep all of them forward as it closes.
potential exists for finding that
Because all
site,
you need,
and,
exactly, just like that.
you know,
All
those
it needs
are
to do is hit the
Yeah.
sort of forward
So,
part of that
descendants
diagonal.
or,
Yeah, just can't hit the
relatives
back,
on the sub.
Yeah.
diagonal.
We don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
So once we did do a pass over the S-28 site when we were coming back in from the
great.
first
And
cruise.
then
And
just
there
kinda
was
shove all
a
of them
tentative
forward if there
target
were a bunch in there.
identified. Mimi
Yeah.
Obecker, the specialist here with OER,
Cool.
mapping specialist.
I'm going to go outboard.
She did a much more careful analysis of
In
the
on the
actual
drawer.
target than I did, so I just sort of did a real quick one.
I'd really like to
getting
know what
ready
that was
for
hitting
this
on.
cruise. And she
It was on
concluded that it was
the
most
lower.
likely an
I don't think
artifact,
the
but what
wing was
she
all the
and
way.
we both thought
Oh, okay.
is that
think
we
that
could
was
do
the
another
problem.
pass on that site on the way out.
You coming
on this
home?
next leg, and if the target
that there
persists,
for you until
then
you're
we'll know
stowed.
it's not an artifact. And if it was an artifact, then she won't see it, or whoever. I guess it'll be Lindsay. One of the other mapping specialists will be on that cruise, and then she'll know that it wasn't real. But that was the best target that we could identify using this technology, multi-beam sonar. So if there's a multi-beam sonar out there that could see that thing, because it's so deep, it's 2,600 meters of water, it's this particular instrument on this ship. And so if you can't find that target, then it's going to require somebody to go down with a very deep towed side scan system to try to find it that way.
Yeah, you have to be very systematic about it, and I know you guys are, in analyzing targets, and that's good. But that's certainly maybe one of the most significant potential targets out there in terms of solving a mystery and laying to rest a lot of
I think even a piece of
cases
line
for families to bring them
or
closure.
a piece of bungee.
Well, we'll see if
Just to
turns
keep it
out,
from getting
another
in the
pass over it
in
and
the
that
inner
target
part of that.
persists. I think they probably will consider diving on it, maybe on the last dive of the next leg. That's certainly in the discussion. But
Where do I sign up?
yeah, it's really hard to find a target that's only 66 meters long or a little over 200 feet when it's in that deep water and you're using a hull-mounted sonar, because the footprint is so large. You know, when it finally gets down to the bottom, that it's very hard to see and get a really
butt
solid.
cam, you can see it behind you.
Conclusive image.
Yeah,
So there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a.
Can we do a quick zoom on that fish?
So
Yeah, can we pan right and then maybe zoom on the fish that's in the sand there? It should be below you, right there. Come down. Maybe he's moved. There it is on the left now. Now they're all over the place.
Photo bomb.
That guy's cooperating.
See if we can zoom in
go
on
ahead
this guy. He's giving us a nice
Align
profile.
myself.
Go ahead.
And say goodbye to you, Josh.
Yeah, copy that, co-pilot.
I'm spinning all the way right.
I don't know, Bruce Devaney maybe? Okeanos Devaney, or you thinking something else?
I'm not sure. I'm not up to speed on these. This one does not have the dark edges on the dorsal and anal fin, so we may
So I
have
have a
two
turn
species
I'll have
in
to
this
take out.
area, because I think some of the others have the dark edges.
I'm surprised he's out on the sand like this.
Below me.
I would have thought that
pretty
he'd be
much.
up closer to the
Just a little bit
structure.
behind me.
Copy.
Devaney eye.
Well, I mean, that's one guess, but I'm not seeing some of the color patterns perhaps on the white edging, or is there any white edging on the...
Makes sense that you have a turn. You went all the way around.
You're right.
Yep.
So,
I don't
Well,
see
this
it.
one's
The
just
one,
buckwise.
the one
just
that
thinking that.
had the edging on the fin.
Kept him in the
Excuse
middle.
me, Bruce, what was that?
The one that we saw on the wreck had the
time,
edging on the fin.
1
I think
minute?
This is a different species than the ones that were hovering
It's
up
only a
around
10-minute
the stern.
ascent.
Anyway, thank you for the video.
Yeah.
Thank you for the close-up.
We need to
That
go.
was helpful.
Next couple after you get this.
Okay, that was Bruce Money.
Take your turn
He's
out.
at the Pacific Island Fisheries Science Center. He's our fish expert.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's it, guys.
All right. So I need
Nice
to-
follow, pilot.
Yeah, thank you. Take my turn out.
Swing arms are all stowed, drawers closed.
Just going to zoom again to get out the
Wings are
equipment.
outboard. Bio boxes are retracted. Good to go. Shielding is
Well, folks, just a little heads up here. This is the last dive of this somewhat short cruise. It was only 7 days long in the main Hawaiian Islands. So for those of you who are following us regularly, the ship is going to take a break, and it's going to leave port for its next cruise on September 9th. And so mark that on your calendar if you enjoy following along on these deep investigations. And that cruise, it'll be leg 4 of this particular series this
What is
year,
that thing?
is
Have we
going to
looked
be
at
for
that
3
thing?
weeks long, and the ship is going to Johnston Atoll.
Just a snap
It's
as I
first
go
gonna
by.
do a
Sure.
dive very close to this site, and then it's going
It's
to
a
go
battery.
over to Niihau and
That's
do
funny.
one dive there, and then it's going to go straight down to Johnston Atoll.
Tight.
And you're going to have several very, very excellent hosts on that
we
particular
concerned
leg.
about the
Dr.
sensor
Scott Frantz from
on the starboard side during
University
recovery?
of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Uh,
He's going to be one of your hosts. We're going to have
Let's have a
Mackenzie Geringer with the Department of Oceanography.
It could have been
at
pushed
the
down a little bit
University of
more.
Hawaii. And she's going to be another host, and we have Brian Kennedy, who's going to be the OER expedition lead on that cruise.
all right.
Virtually
I think
every
I'm pushed
single
out.
site down there
Coming
is going to be completely unexplored. There's one place, I think, in the beginning horizon seamount
like
where
it's
there
in
was a
there
bunch
pretty
of
good,
dives
Josh.
done a ways from our site
I mean, I could
many years ago.
push it
but
down a
all
little
of the
bit on
other
the way up.
sites have never been explored before.
The heavy part's in the box.
So
Yeah.
keep that marked in your calendar because we've got some exciting dives ahead for
Video,
you.
can you do a zoom on HD2?
Well, these 7 were supported
D2,
by the
HD2?
Deep Sea Coral
That's right.
program, so the Deep Sea Coral and Sponge program. So it was a mix. It was a mix of having us go out to finish up projects that we.
Yeah, I'm going to come up, Josh. You
All right.
ready?
Yep.
It has allowed us to go out and kind of clean up some projects that were in
The lead
midway,
weight's in the box.
and then go and start some exploration. To
That's good.
3 dives to the
3
geologist seamounts, 2 of which were spectacular.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So
So many thanks to the Deep Sea Coral
Yep.
and Technology Program.
Yep.
And,
Here, here. You guys coming up?
Coming up.
All right.
Coming up fast.
Cop.
I'm at 80.
All right, video, you can zoom
All right,
out.
folks, we're going to have a post-dive
Zoom out,
brief
you said,
in
pilot?
about
Yes,
15
please.
Great,
minutes,
thank you.
right? So why don't you want to set it for 12:30
yeah,
Hawaii
we can do it.
time?
We can do it 12:30 Hawaii time. That sounds good.
We're going to take a quick
I mean,
break, and we'll be
If we were
back to you
concerned, I
shortly.
could just
Okay, very good. Thanks for tuning in.
Josh,
poke
what?
it. If we were concerned about that, I could just poke it down in there. But I think it's okay.
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.